It is 11, or no, it's 10 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios.
Are you kidding me?
I'm Lucas Panzica. Congratulations, you made it. The NFL draft starts tonight. The Tennessee Titans are expected to draft quarterback Cam Ward with the #1 overall pick. Titans radio draft coverage begins tonight at 6. Presented by Farm Bureau Health Plans, live from the Titans draft party at Nissan Stadium. The draft starts at 7. The Titans made a signing in wide receiver Tyler Lockett. The 32-year-old broke the news on his social media Wednesday night. Adam Schefter reporting it's a $4 million deal for 1 year that can go up to $6 million. The three-time All-Pro receiver heads into his 11th season in 2025. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Ah, yes. Draft day. The vibes are high. Morale is too. We're happy to have you. It is finally upon us. Cam Ward, you are a Tennessee Titan. Not yet. A few more hours to go. But then you can finally put a bow on your quarterback situation and start to think about what you might do at 35 overall, if you're going to be able to creep back up into the third round with 2/4, all the different things that we'll see you try and maneuver around this NFL draft with first-year GM Mike Borgonzi to try and improve this football team over the weekend.
5 o'clock tonight.
You sure?
That is the latest you can start the movie Draft Day, which has a runtime of 2 hours without missing any of the selections in the first round of the NFL draft.
What time is it right now?
Right now, it is 10:02:55.
Are you sure?
56, 57, 58. You just go ahead and keep unpacking your stuff walking in here at 10:01 a.m. Don't you worry about what time
I was here ready to do my job, and as soon as you opened up your microphone, you started the radio show, as one does, on one of the most important days of the year by the first thing coming out of your mouth being incorrect.
Fire me. Oh, you can't. You're stuck with us.
Not yet. 615-737-1045. I might need you for a few more days. Is the number if you want to get involved, the F&M Bank chat, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch if you would like to participate there. Yes. How about a little draft day eve Christmas present? Did either of you participate in is it St. Nick's Day where you get a present before the actual Christmas proceedings? You just get to open one?
I never got that privilege.
You need to, one, get out of my head, because I talked to Lucas this morning. Doesn't this feel like Christmas? Doesn't it feel, yesterday kind of feel like Christmas, where it was like, come on, Mom, can we please open just one gift? Okay, you can open this one. Oh, it's Cam Ward. Can we open one more? Can we please? Somebody tell us.
How about a Tyler Locket? You want to use it? Now, it's a used Tyler Locket. It's not a brand new Tyler Locket. It's towards the end of his career, Mr. Two-Hand Touch Tyler Locket. But that's just fine, because it definitely impacts this weekend's proceedings. And that's what, I think he broke that news himself. He did. It's what, 8:30 p.m. Seattle time when that happens, which is 10:30 p.m. or thereabouts, just before 10:30.
10:18 p.m. Central Time.
Okay.
And he just tweets, I'm excited to be a Tennessee Titan. It was like, oh,
delightful.
Okay.
Yes.
That's rare.
So there's your St. Nick's Day present, where you get to open one present before you get to the actual Christmas presents. Well, I guess the draft is more like Hanukkah, right? It's not quite 8 crazy nights, but it's 3 somewhat crazy nights, a little bit of drama across it. So is this football Hanukkah as opposed to Christmas?
That's a technical foul.
Yeah. Speaking of people who forgot to wear their bra to work today.
Yeah, come on. Even if you're getting socks for Christmas, if you need socks, I'll take ones with holes in them. That's some of my favorite socks got holes in them.
I need socks.
I would love for you to wear socks as opposed to those disgusting-ass Crocs and your dirty little feet, your dogs, as was described in the zoo video that were on display. My favorite part of the video is you two being probably 200 feet in the air on the Eagle zip line at the Nashville Zoo, and very impressed with my microphone capabilities, being able to keep the audio sound and pristine as you guys elevated onto the zip line. And then at the very top of it, where you're just surrounded by fresh air and wind and breezes, Lucas says, I can smell your dogs.
This is what it's like to be an eagle.
My mom saw the zoo video. Want to know what she said?
Sure.
Glad comedy was not your career choice.
Oh, off the top row.
The women in your life, the way that they disparaged the two of you.
No, Cheyenne was a major hater.
That's what I said on the front end.
Of just the idea in general.
Yeah.
What? She was like, I don't get it. Well, what's the? Listen here. If you the Babe Ruth of funny, I'm just going to go be funny with animals. How about that? How about that, Cheyenne? When's the last time you had a video that got 700 views?
Oh, is it up to 700 now?
706.
Now, that's just on YouTube, because I told you it was going to do a lot better on Twitter than it was on YouTube, because people don't quite care enough about you yet.
We're on the road to 1,000.
But,
All right, my DMs have been exploding with women who also have an animal fetish. They're like, oh, could you,
what, are they trying to sign you up to be a furry?
They would like us to come do videos at their houses.
And then, is that a message from Lorne Michaels? Saturday Night Live?
Oh, wow. What an honor, Lauren. I'll come save SNL.
It's doing just fine. It's a political cycle. It's an election cycle right now. SNL doing just fine.
SNL's making a little bit of a comeback.
Titans in a good position ahead of day 2 of the draft, because we, presumptive though it may be, we are presuming that Cam Ward will be the number 1 overall pick tonight, because if he's not, the collective Nashville sports consuming society will poop themselves, and we will deal with that result if we need to tomorrow morning. But
if he's not at this point, it would be one of the biggest shocks in draft history. So
I don't know what I would say, but it would be very, very bad and very, very nasty, and I would have a hard time keeping it not personal at that point in time, as I'm sure many of you would for different reasons. But that would be the gaslighting of all gaslighting if they were to stick and pick and make a bit of it, not a scene necessarily. They responded to questions that they were asked about making sure that everybody knew that they were going to stay and select at number 1 overall if they took anybody but Cam Ward. So help me God.
Hey, how about the money on Tyler Lockett? 1 year, $4 million, maybe up to 6,
Feels
according to
pretty good.
Schefter.
Feels pretty. Now he's coming off his worst season.
Yep,
since
production-wise.
2017. If you're just looking at counting stats, but the thing again, what stands out about Tyler Lockett that is in keeping with the theme of this free agency class?
Availability.
He is very available. Now, that's because Tyler Lockett wants nothing to do with contact. If you've ever watched Tyler Lockett play wide receiver, he is not a yards after the catch guy. Certainly not at this point in his career, where he will be 33 at some point this season.
Yeah, in late September, he'll turn 33, September 28th.
So that's all well and good, and he's not, Super Bowl champion Tyler Lockett at this stage of his life, but he is definitely somebody who can be a reliable target for Cam Ward. And you and I kind of had a disagreement yesterday about the best way to serve Cam Ward as it pertains to the acquisition of skill position talent. And you had maintained that if all things were equal, at pick number 35, that this team's preference, or at least maybe your preference if you were picking for this team, would be to continue to support him with specifically wide receiver help. And I had taken a different approach, one pointing out that Mike Borgonzi's entire mantra so far has been building through the trenches, and that two, I would much prefer to have a veteran. Doesn't mean that will stop you outright from drafting a rookie wide receiver this year. You would like for them to draft one before the 6th round or the 7th round, as Borgonzi's predecessor did. There was never a wide receiver taken before the 6th round under Rand Carthon. He chose to pay DeAndre Hopkins and pay Calvin Ridley as opposed to addressing those needs organically. But my perspective was, no, I'd rather have a vet. Surround him with vets as much as humanly possible, even if they're not the best wide receivers in the world. That shortens the learning curve for a rookie quarterback significantly. And I think you get that now with Calvin Ridley, with Tyler Lockett, and you can still add a rookie into the mix with either of your 4th-round picks. If you're able to get back into the 3rd, okay, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But that seems to be the route that this particular team has taken.
Yeah, for me, it changes nothing. I agree. They needed another veteran in that room. But I think that was the case while also needing a young receiver. Joel Samuels on the F&M Bank chat says he needs a young weapon to grow with.
That's fine. Get him in the fourth.
Cam Ward needs a receiver under the age of 30 that he can rely on and develop with in this system. So if they are sticking and picking at 35, and there are quality receivers on the board, if the value is similar to the receivers left and the edge players left, I'm still going receiver. I want to learn as much about Cam Ward, put Cam Ward in as much of a position to succeed, understanding that wins are going to be at a premium this year.
And I don't have any issue with that, with you having that opinion. I think that's a sound opinion that is probably supported by many people who are listening to the radio show today. But I'm telling you that the way that this thing looks like it's going to play out, not knowing how the draft board is going to fall, basically from what, 5 down?
Yeah, that's the thing about this
first
draft.
Round.
It can be scattershot.
But I do feel, Lucas, pretty strongly at this point, and it's not for a lack of talking to people in that organization, that if all things were equal, that they would go pass rusher.
Depends who's there.
At 35. But yes, of course, it always depends who's there. They're not going to be definitive about anything. Hell, they're still being a bit coy about the number 1 overall pick, even though, so help me God, you better take that quarterback.
Has y'all's opinion changed on what could be available in the second round since we've gone through this? Because
From when? Like the end of the season? Like the start, really, of mock draft season?
Sure, because like before, I would have said yes, that one of these wide receivers would probably be available at 35, and now I'm kind of leaning more that an edge would fall out of the end of round 1 to the Titans versus the wide receiver.
And it also is going to be curious to me, Robert, how they view some of these edge players, because there are so many of them, and it's not quite the same as like Josh Heupel's offense, for example, takes advantage of the way that the college football field and the dimensions of the college football field are constructed. It doesn't necessarily work at the professional level, or it hasn't proven to be something that NFL coaches are willing to implement at the professional level. But there's also, with defensive players, especially some of these defensive linemen, Shamar Stewart comes to mind, the A&M pass rusher who does not have the statistical production to back up what will probably be a first-round draft pick pedigree this year. But at the next level, he's not going to be deployed the way that he was in college. And that's something that many coaches who you talk to in the pre-draft process will tell you, well, they're just doing things differently than we'll do with him. Shamar Stewart is an example in the pros. He's not going to line up on the interior as much as he will. That's an edge player that we will deploy in different ways and different packages to make sure that we can take advantage of his full skill set.
Yeah, I acknowledge it's more likely that there's a higher impact edge player there at 35 than receiver. I just get the feeling that there's going to be a run on receivers in the first round. I'm surprised if a receiver doesn't go off the board until the 20s, which some mock drafts have predicted, Travis Hunter notwithstanding. So if there is a Luther Burden sitting there, surprisingly, and Emeka Egbuka, which that feels less and less likely, sitting there at 35, I want the Titans to pull the trigger. But there's also a long list of names of edge rushers that could be there, whether it's James Pierce Jr., Shamar Stewart, Landon Jackson out of Arkansas.
I want 2 of them.
Donovan, what's that? He said Ezaraku from Boston College feels like a late first, early second guy. So, yes, I do acknowledge that the likelihood is that you will have more options at edge than at receiver at 35. But if that particular prospect falls to you at 35 at receiver that you like, then it's going to be hard to pass up.
There is time for phone calls. You guys have already started to trickle in there, so we will get to your phone calls here in the next segment, 615-737-1045. There are also comments in the F&M Bank chat, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, as I mentioned earlier, where you can interact with the show if you choose to do so, where Bryce R. says, just wait until we draft a cornerback at 35 because this team is stupid. Let me tell you this, okay? If there is a corner at 35, and I don't, again, we don't know how the draft board's going to fall. I would caution you from having a knee-jerk reaction about a player or a position that you don't think you need. If your team deems that player to be the best player available and they take them, then you're just going to have to eat it because you're probably going to need that player at some point in time. Because right now, your secondary situation is anything but settled. I await some kind of conclusion to the L'Jarius Sneed saga. You cut Chidobe Awuzie 1 year into a 3-year, $36 million deal, and Roger McCreary is in a contract year. If they took a corner, it may not be something that you think they need, But you have to keep an open mind about the draft process. They have told you. In fact, Bert, do we have that audio from Tuesday? We can play it coming up next, of Mike Borgonzi talking about how they will approach the draft when it comes to need versus best player available. We'll do that. We'll take your phone calls. We've got a lot to get to on this draft day. Greg Cosell is going to be here. Robert's excited. We are excited because WWE superstar Sheamus is also going to be on the show as well. We'll dive into the most exciting draft for a Titans fan since, well, we'll let you tell us. Coming up next, I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Lake lovers, listen up. Tennessee National, a highly anticipated lakefront resort, golf, and marina community, is having a spring sales event, releasing a limited number of lake lots to the public with upgrades and savings. One day only, this Saturday, April 26th. You can get a cottage package with a boat slip from just $379,900. You can also get, for the first time ever, a fully furnished lakefront townhome. There's private golf cart access to a new marina and resort, 10 miles of walking trails, 3.5 miles of shoreline, a brand new 26,000 square foot clubhouse, waterfront concerts overlooking a beautiful lake, pickleball, pools, on-site coffee shop, and much more. Play on the lake or simply relax at the waterfront restaurant just over 20 minutes from Knoxville, Tennessee. Financing is available, so enjoy life on the water, fresh air, boat rides, and sunshine. Celebrate the lake life and make memories. This limited property release Saturday, April 26th. Visit TennesseeNational.com, or better yet, give us a call, 865-408-9992 to secure your private tour. Memories begin here. Welcome back to the show on this draft day, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Had some Hattie B's last night for dinner. As a matter of fact, took advantage of the Hattie B's app after prime time. I am on a grilled tenders kick as of late, boys. I know that you all have your preferred Hattie B's order, but I'm very partial. You know, it's trying to be a little bit more health conscious, and lucky for me, Hattie B's has options. So I went with some grilled medium tenders, and they were delightful.
Well, you know, I'm a half bird kind of man, but I'm not opposed to the grilled tendies. Are they still as juicy as the regular chicken is?
I would argue more so because I think some of the dry rub Hattie B's hot chicken spices take a little bit, not too much, because I still think it's delightful. But I do think that the grilled tenders are actually juicier, if that's the correct grammar there, than the actual Hattie B's fried tenders or fried whole wings or what have you. That, to me, delightful.
I ain't going to come off my half bird, but I will try some of them tendies.
Well, the next time we take a group field trip, we're already plotting our next production event after the zoo thing was such a smashing success to the tune of how many views?
707.
Yeah, I don't think it's that many. I think it's about 700.
It's
707. That is, by definition, about 700.
I will.
How many likes? How many comments? Read something good about me.
Okay, calm down. We have draft things to talk about. I don't want to talk about you any more than I have to, although I did have a tremendous amount of businesses DM me after I posted that on all my social platforms asking if we could take the group outings to their business next. So we will.
Am I getting paid for that?
Yes.
Oh, let's go.
You don't get paid for the zoo because my gift to you on that was not money, but the opportunity to run around in animal enclosures, which I think is greater than any financial sum I could have given you.
I think you would have paid for that.
They never called me about that meerkat. I guess they don't do head counts. He's getting along swimmingly with Winston and Paris.
Just put it in your pocket.
Don't even joke about stealing animals from the zoo because, I mean, they did warn us when we went into the meerkat enclosure. They'll try to get in your pocket. So
They're awesome.
Make sure that you don't accidentally leave the enclosure with a meerkat.
The meerkats had the most visceral reaction to one of Robert's questions. It recoiled from the mic, went, rah.
It's kind of a grunt and a hiss type of situation. But Titans fans are not grunting and hissing on this particular draft day because they're excited. And we asked Jelly Roll, who came on the show yesterday, when's the last time you've been this excited for a draft? And he went along with the thing that I've heard the most often when I engage with Titans fans, whether it be online or when I talk to you guys out and about when I see you at various places. And it's always good to see people. I was in Murfreesboro yesterday. One of the sheriffs rolled down the window and said, "Hey, you're Buck Rising. Big fan of the show." And then he also complimented Robert, which made me recoil a little bit, and I didn't like that at all.
Well, that's great. They usually have nothing nice to say to me.
The Robert compliment does not make that not a finable offense, though.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Here, I'll hit you with a cash.
That's fine. I'll take it. We appreciate the good people of Murfreesboro, who apparently we are a big hit in the borough, according to multiple sources. Either way, the most exciting draft for Titans fans since when? And Jelly's answer was since Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, easy.
Which made the most sense because positional alignment there, hope, franchise quarterback, promise. Marcus obviously didn't pan out quite that well, though it took a couple of seasons for that. I mean, we were really arguing about it until the season that he got benched, where it was clear and obvious that he wasn't going to be able to get them over the hump, and that the Tannehill exchange made a lot of sense at the time and ended up being one of the best decisions that John Robinson ever made before, the tail end of John Robinson's career here. So with that, I guess it's worth kind of going back through the draft history with everything that's gone on, because there hasn't been a Titans draft pick that isn't embattled in some way, I would argue, since Marcus. Not just the idea that this is a quarterback that the Titans are getting ready to draft, and obviously the franchise quarterback situation was exciting, but let's go back through the list of people that they've drafted, I don't know, in the last,
First round picks
in the last handful of drafts. And I would also include Levis in the middle of this as a second round pick, but obviously a quarterback that people had mixed emotions about. So let's just take last year's. J.C. Latham. Well, he's a right tackle, but they needed a left tackle. And Titans fans had been excited about the idea of Joe Alt for a period of months until he went off the board at number 5 to the Chargers. And the Titans were not leaving that draft in the first round without taking a tackle, so they opted for J.C. Latham out of Alabama, who played right. And there was much consternation, I would argue more consternation, about can he play left after having been a college starter at right than there was even about the green dot nonsense that we spent entirely too much time talking about.
Yeah, but for the people that were concerned, like, who was the pick that they would have rather had? Roma Dunze?
Neighbors was gone.
Yeah, Neighbors was gone. Alt was gone.
Cosell came on here the day after the draft. Greg Cosell is going to be on the show later today. We'll do an install live. Again, by the way, get your tickets before they draft Cam Ward, 1045thezone.com for the install live with Titans head coach Brian Callahan and Greg Cosell of NFL Films. Friday, May the 2nd. We're looking forward to seeing 250 of you guys in the house. Cosell said he would have had all 3 wide receivers over J.C. Latham to play left. Now J.C.'s going to play right, so it's a little less, bothersome, I think, to Titans fans. The more embattled pick in that draft class, though, was Sweat, right?
Oh, yeah, easily.
Sure. So Sweat, who is the out-of-shape nose tackle or overweight, maybe not out of shape, but overweight nose tackle with a DUI situation, who many teams had taken off their draft board, and the Titans did extensive vetting on him. One of Rand Carthon's best decisions during his short tenure here was to go as far as they did to make sure that they vetted Tavondre Sweat the way that they did, and they were able to add them. Skoronski, he's a guard at this level, but Titans fans still looking for a left tackle solution. Many people upset with Mike Vrabel and the coaching staff at the time. Why won't you even attempt to let him play left tackle? So Skoronski, also in that draft, Levis as the second-round pick, so that was a draft that came with a bit of hand-wringing.
Yeah, I'd say.
As well. You go back to 2022, which, of course, is the Traylon Burks draft and the A.J. Brown trade and everything that came as a result. Not a lot of those draft picks have worked out either. Chig and McCreary are still around. Malik Willis is thriving elsewhere. Hassan Haskins is on the Chargers, and PF has recently been released. But for the most part, the Burks-AJ situation made that a difficult draft for Titans fans to stomach. You go back to 21, Caleb Farley at the time. He is dealing with injury.
No, let's please not relitigate the Farley thing. Keep it moving.
No, but it's not even just him. Think about it. How many 2021 draft picks are left on this roster?
No, I know. I think Titans fans are so ready to put them out of their mind. I understand what you're saying. Like 2022,
because I can keep going.
2021, but we don't have to rehash all the reasons why that was an embattled bad pick.
Sure.
2020, Wilson. 2019, Simmons. I think Titans fans were excited about Jeffrey Simmons.
I think it was half and half because, one, ESPN ran that video of Jeff hitting that woman in his high school days into the ground.
Yeah.
And listen, it was a controversial pick for a player who had. Do you remember that Jeff Simmons wasn't invited to the combine that year? That he was training in February on his
ACL
own.
tear.
No, he got the ACL tear while training because he wasn't able to attend the combine because players with a domestic violence situation, the league had taken a policy that they were not inviting players who had a domestic violence situation to the combine at the time.
But the ACL did happen well before the combine.
No, I think it was in the month of the combine.
No, it was in February.
Right, and the combine is in February.
Yeah, late February. First week of March.
Lucas, I think it's like 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks before the combine happened. If you want to go find the exact date, you are welcome to do so.
So it was before the combine. Thank you.
My point is, Titans fans haven't had a draft that they're not at least a bit apprehensive about since, I don't know, I would even argue 18 they were a bit apprehensive about it because do you remember how many draft picks they had in 2018?
Four.
That's Rashawn Evans, that's Harold Landry, that's Dane Cruikshank, and Luke Falk in the 7th round. So you would have to go back. You would have to go back to Marcus Mariota's draft for the last time that Titans fans had a draft that they had good vibes generally about. Corey Davis was overdrafted in 2017. Jack Conklin, I don't think there was a ton of excitement about a right tackle at the time because the Titans had the number 1 overall pick and traded out of it to go get Conklin at the time. So it's been damn near a decade, if not a decade, since the 2015 draft.
Been literally a decade.
Where Titans fans have had good vibes as excited as they have been for a draft in 10 years. So the amount of excitement around all of this, it doesn't mean that these players are going to pan out full stop. Marcus Mariota, franchise quarterback hopes. Injuries derailed him considerably. Poor coaching when he landed here by Ken Wisenhunt, a lack of protection to support him, a lack of weaponry, all the different issues that typically arise for bad teams who are drafting quarterbacks at the top of the first round. They very much happen to Marcus Mariota. And while Mariota did fail here, the Titans organization failed him as much as Marcus failed to live up to those expectations. I would argue that Marcus did a better job than the Titans did for him at the time.
By the way, I'd
reasonable
encourage
minds can disagree.
anybody to go back and listen or watch the Mariota interview with Bussin' with the Boys.
They did a good job.
You got a chance to listen to it?
I did.
Yeah, Marcus goes into, talking about injury stuff that I don't think we even really knew the extent of. We knew how bad it was.
Did he go back to that October 2018 situation where he had all things, where he ended up being a scratch before the Luck playoff game? I can't remember that. I didn't make it through the entire
I don't think
way
he didn't
through
talk
the
about that
podcast.
game specifically. I know you're talking about that Sunday Night Football game where Blaine Gabbert started a win-and-in game, but it's a really good interview from Marcus, and he was really candid about some of the stuff he dealt with physically and mentally throughout that process. So the Titans obviously have made a clear, concerted effort, not necessarily with Mariota in mind. Really nobody here was here when Marcus Mariota was coming into the league, but they have made a very clear and concerted effort to not do what the franchise did with Marcus Mariota, with Cam Ward, and that's get him killed.
And that was their emphasis. I think it will continue to be emphasized in the draft, though they have addressed at the top level, or at least at the starting level, the offensive line and the defensive line. They're going to get him additional support in the trenches, because the best way to support a rookie quarterback is, of course, a good offensive line, but you also have to give him the opportunity to get back on the field with a defense who can get off the field on third down, which is not a strength of the Titans in the last couple of years. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. And the question becomes, all right, so beyond that, Mike Borgonzi speaking on Tuesday at the press conference about how they plan to address drafting for a team that has needs all over the place while still sticking to the keys or the rules that their draft board provides.
Yeah, and that's part of, staying true to the board. I think you're trying to marry up, the need with the value too. You never want to force a need in the draft. And for us, we do have a lot of needs, so I think it's important for us to stay true to the board and really take the best available player, at that pick. But for us, like I said, we don't want to force needs here and force a pick based on that.
So that is Mike Borgonzi speaking at Tuesday's pre-draft press conference. There will be press conferences tonight there will be a press conference after they pick Cam Ward with Brian Callahan, and that at the end of the round, Titans PR has informed us that there will be a press conference with Mike Borgonzi. So apparently I'm not getting an early night because I guess we're going to ride this thing out all the way to the end, just in case there's the opportunity to trade around at the back of the first or potentially into day two, where a deal might be done prior to day two actually commencing. So you guys have the opportunity to chime in. We'll take your phone calls all day long. We have several people who want to weigh in on these subjects. How about Ryan in Nashville to lead us off?
Is this me? I'm Brian.
Okay. Hi, Brian.
I'm sorry. Okay. So, love your show. Thanks for taking my call. My deal is if you're in the art of the deal, if you're trying to set yourself up, potentially, I'm not saying they're not taking Cam Ward, but potentially, let's say they really do want a lot of picks. The way to do that is to say, well, let's send our whole crew down to wherever. Let's all look at him. Let's all say we love him. We're going to take him, blah, blah, blah. It increases. If somebody really does want that pick, one of the teams does want that pick, I think it really increases their desire 30 minutes or an hour before it starts to say, okay, we're going to give a higher pick or another pick to it. It makes sense to me. And we know that he Organzi plays games, he will do those kinds of things.
Well, Brian, I would point out to you that they literally said on Tuesday that if teams were still interested in trading up for the pick, don't bother.
Yeah, but that also was in the art of the deal.
Well, did you read
Yes.
Uncle Donnie's book?
Yes, to in the press conference state that you are not moving off the pick and increased demand.
So I completely understand your point, Brian. Those are well-made points, but I would just caution you on this specific situation. Don't overthink it.
Everybody wants what they can't have.
I did not think we were going to get an art of the deal reference today.
Better than Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I guess.
They're taking Cam Ward, folks.
Yes, indeed they are. How about Johnny calling us from Los Angeles, where it's a little earlier there? Hey, Johnny.
Hey, guys. Long time Titans fan, born and raised in Nashville, out here in L.A. But, yeah, the last, I guess, draft that I can remember being excited about, I think I would say was Vince Young, just because he had won the national championship. There's a lot of hype around him. But as far as this year's draft, I don't know. Unpopular opinion. I was of the mindset of going with a sure thing, which I thought, Abdul Carter would be. And for the love of God, we cannot miss on another draft pick. But I have kind of turned the corner towards Cam Ward because, it's just some excitement. It's some hope, you know what I'm saying, getting a new quarterback in here and seeing what he can do. I know it's probably the most predictable pick we've had in a long time, but I am excited. I am excited about this today. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you for the call. It is, it's a curious thing, right? Because they have talked about taking best player available, and there is some argument to be made that Cam Ward is not, in fact, the best player available at number 1 overall, right? Or does the weight of the quarterback position vault him above who might actually be the best player at their individual position?
I don't think he is the best football player in this draft. Most people don't believe that.
So that I think is the thing if you wanted to really nitpick their phraseology. And it's fair to do. They say things in front of a microphone. You hold them to what they say.
And they're going to say that they believe he's the best football player in this draft.
And I think, by consensus as a football-consuming community, would know that to not be true. But that's fine. It's like you don't have to take it outright as gospel. You don't have to take it word for word as something that they have to stick through. And again, I would weight the importance of the quarterback position more than I would weight any other position that a team might add with a need as desperate as this one has.
Yeah, like
at the quarterback position.
Are we going to hold their feet to the fire tonight? Oh, but you said best player. He's not the best player.
I think I saw PK write an article exactly to that effect. By the way, Karski's on the podcast on Saturday to recap the draft, so I'm sure Titans fans will love that. Let's go. We'll continue to take your phone calls throughout the course of the day. There is also not an unforeseen, a very much foreseen impact on this year's draft, but it's having more tentacles than I think people might have initially realized. We'll get to NIL's impact on the NFL draft coming up next. If you've got spring cleaning on the to-do list coming up, don't forget to refresh your finances too. The people that can help you with exactly that are Trajan Wealth. They can help you tidy up your wealth management strategy. So give them a call today because we all want to make sure that our retirement plan is sound. And the simple truth is that there is more to retirement planning than simply calculating your expenses. Trajan Wealth can help you design a strategy based on realistic options that align with your goals and your circumstances, especially right now where the circumstances seem to be a bit fluid day to day. Brian brought up the art of the deal. There's all manner of things that are going on economically that have been caused by the art of the deal, it would seem. Occurrences like inflation, election cycles, new laws, and interest rates can affect the financial markets in the short term, but it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to keep changing the way you invest in response to the daily news. So Trajan Wealth will help you review your strategy and make sure that it's right for your goals, your risk tolerance, and your time horizon. Trajan Wealth will help you decide what to do. So call them today at 615-270-5000. That's 615-270-5000, or visit them online at TrajanWealth.com. Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. This is a paid advertisement. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. We'll get back to your phone calls here in just a moment. But there is impact on the NFL draft this year that are more consequential than they've ever been. And one of those things is the presence of name, image, and likeness on day 3 of the draft. Now, I've talked to plenty of coaches and scouts about this, and as have many people who cover the NFL. And the one thing that continues to be pointed out to me, boys, is that day 3 has really been whittled down to the amount of talent that you typically expect to get on day 3, or at least in the pre-NIL era, because players who, like Cam Ward, may have gotten a day 3 valuation when he tried or considered coming out in 2024, will go back not just for the purposes of improving their draft stock, but also because they financially benefit from returning.
Carson Beck, the example of that this year.
Yes, very much so.
Probably could have come out. Carson Beck would get drafted. But Carson Beck wouldn't make $3.8 million as a rookie.
I don't think so. I think he would be a day 2 pick at best right now.
At best.
At best. And that, he stands to make more guaranteed money, certainly, with the Miami Hurricanes right now. So, something that has emerged in the middle of NIL, I don't want to call it robbing the draft of some talent that might have been there, because it's an opportunity that the players in college are taking advantage of. But it has definitely diminished what teams can expect to add on day 3 in particular. And this tweet from Jay Glazer, Lucas, sent into our group text today. Interesting thing that came up in my draft prep calls for this year's teams. For years, teams have pulled players off the board for A, injury concerns, or B, character concerns. A third category has been added for most teams I talked to that had guys off their board for, quote, doesn't love football. This was the first year it was so prevalent. I asked about why that is, and the thought was because of NIL money, guys have already been paid, and some feel that they don't need to grind to get paid. So the guys who love football are probably appreciated more. Just an interesting tidbit to pass along. And that makes all the sense in the world. It's why Shador Sanders is still getting heat. You see this anonymous coach quote going around from Tom Pelissero. I think Kyle Brandt teed off on it most publicly yesterday, because it was just basically a character assassination of Shador, using the word entitled around him. And it is something to say, well, the league needs to adjust to the fact that kids aren't going to be as desperate as they used to be to make money, because now they have the opportunity to make money before they get to the league. And forever, the NFL has been able to provide those opportunities for financial gain. Now they don't provide as good an opportunity as many colleges do for financial gain for a lot of these players. So it's going to be an adjustment on behalf of the league to kind of understand, they don't need you as badly as they used to. So that might diminish the quote-unquote just for the love of the game. I don't like the doesn't love football moniker there. But it does speak to the thing that I've believed and known for many, many years, because I've covered professional athletes, that a lot of them don't love football as much as you guys do, for example, or don't love your team as much as you guys do, because football is a means to an end. Football is a job for them. Football is the thing that they're good at. Football is the thing that they can monetize the most off of. Football is a means for them to create generational wealth for them and their family for years to come, which may, for a lot of guys, be a higher priority than just for the love of the game. Though, of course, all of these people have some love of football to have made it to this level.
But it's a factor for coaches, though.
Yes.
Like, I believe that it is a huge factor for coaches, college and pro. The Nico situation immediately comes to mind. And we talked to Coach Mack about this. We understand. If Nico goes nuts at UCLA and suddenly has all the traits and is viewed as a first-round prospect, he'll be a first-round pick at quarterback. Like the Shador Sanders stuff would not matter if Shador Sanders had all the traits and production of a first-round pick at quarterback. He's a fringe second-round prospect for a lot of analysts, for some, maybe even later than that.
Yes.
He's not a slam-dunk first-round prospect, so this stuff comes up more. If Nico does not have the kind of year that would vault him into a top 10 pick status, this stuff's going to come up. This stuff is going to come up. Why did you leave your team the day before spring practice trying to leverage them for more money for this, and that? Are you familiar with the marshmallow test?
No.
I'm surprised how many people haven't heard of this. So,
Bert, are you familiar with the marshmallow test?
Is that like Fuzzy Bunny? You see how many marshmallows you can stick in your mouth?
No, that's another marshmallow test. So, at Stanford University in the 70s.
I would like you to do the marshmallow test during tomorrow's show. I will buy the marshmallows.
All right, bring them in, but make it the big ones.
You are familiar with the Stanford prison experiment, right? Everybody is. They made a movie out of it. One of the most famous psychological experiments of all time. Look it up. That's a conversation for later. Stanford also did a marshmallow experiment in the 70s where they would put two kids in a room, and they would put one marshmallow in front of both kids. And they would tell the kids, here's this marshmallow. You can eat it now, but we're going to walk out of this room. If you wait a few minutes and wait for us to come back in without eating the marshmallow, you'll get a second marshmallow. And so they walk out of the room. They walk out of the room. They wait. there's always the kid that says, nah, I can't wait. He just eats the marshmallow that's in front of him. And there's always the kid that waits. Says, no, if I just wait a little bit, I'll get not one, but two marshmallows. And then they would track these kids' success and SAT scores just down the road in their life. And they found at the time that the kid that waited was typically more successful in life. NIL has become a giant marshmallow test with kids grabbing the big shiny thing in front of them without thinking 5 years even down the road as to what can this mean for my NFL prospects? What can this mean for my developmental path as a football player, for my academic path forward? And this is stuff that can come back around in the draft process. And this is the window where coaches are going to be most put off by it in the NFL because it's so new. Like, we're in the adjustment window.
That's the thing. And listen, I know plenty of people who recoiled at Shador Sanders because the level of ego that exists in the NFL, there is going to be some humbling here, I would say, on behalf of people who run NFL organizations, because they just don't need you as badly as they used to. The NFL is not the most important thing in the world to them when they have already made, some of them, substantial money, and that is going to be reflected in the way that they conduct themselves. They're not going to be as desperate to meet with you as they used to be, and you're going to have to make that adjustment as a league. Doesn't mean that you have to completely give yourself over to these players and overcorrect and capitulate and take a player who you think is entitled and doesn't love football as much as he loves money and this, that, and the other. But it is going to take some adjustment on behalf of the NFL to understand, all right, we're going to have to factor this into our evaluation. And I think that's okay. Now, again, there will be overcorrections. There will be extremes. There will be mistakes made. There will be interactions that are bad, even though they probably shouldn't be because somebody got their ego bruised in a meeting with a team. Probably whichever team keeps pooping on Shador Sanders privately, or not privately, but an anonymous commentary that is cowardly from my perspective. But it is a legitimate factor, and to the point where we said we were going to talk about this yesterday. We never got around to it. The Madden Amaliava situation, where Arkansas's NIL collective is now seeking $200,000 back from him to recoup their financial investment in Madden Amaliava. And so that's going to be a factor as well into how kids operate in the transfer portal, or kids' representation provides them insight on what financial repercussions might you have if you just decide to transfer as opposed to doing it willy-nilly.
If you decide to eat the marshmallow.
To that effect, yes.
Now, the amazing thing about the marshmallow test is
how many of us, all three of us in the room, would eat the marshmallow?
I would probably eat the marshmallow.
Yeah.
Now, all of the kids, 100% of the kids who ate their marshmallow and then stole the other kid's marshmallow and ate it became all-pro defensive backs in the NFL. It's really amazing.
Yes, absolutely. 615-737-1045 is the number. Let's go to Frank in Franklin or South Franklin up next.
Hey, good afternoon, guys.
Hey.
Buck, I've got some thoughts on how you can be really happy tonight either way if they take Cam or don't. The money line is negative 20,000, so if you put $100 against it, and they don't take Cam, you'll be pretty happy too.
Oh, okay. So some insider trading type of stuff. Now, I do appreciate the advice, Frank, and that would help assuage my just unmitigated disgust if they were to not take Cam Ward with the number 1 overall pick tonight. But my policy has been I'll bet on everything except for NFL stuff because that does seem to be a bit of a conflict of interest for me.
That's why he had me download the app, so I place all his bets for him.
Oh, you're my who did that famously in professional athletics recently? Ridley didn't have somebody doing that for him, did he?
No, I think it was the Raptors player.
Remember, Alabama's baseball coach got fired because he had a third party
Somebody
in
else.
like Ohio or something placing bets for him on games he was coaching.
Let that man live. Come on, man. What are we doing? You're not going to let somebody gamble on. Put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. What are we doing?
Well, they will now that he's dead. All right, Tyler Lockett. How does he change the draft outlook? We'll talk about it coming up next.
Hey, Nashville, are you looking for a spot to kick back, have some great food, some cold ones, watch the NFL draft, and just have a good time? I've got it for you. It's Fog Street Lawn Club. It is Nashville's premier soccer pub, your go-to spot to watch Nashville SC games. It's also open early for Premier League action, even though 6 a.m. kickoffs. But really, it's perfect no matter the sport. The draft this weekend, NHL, NBA playoffs, Fog Street makes sure you're not going to miss a moment. You're also not going to get bored. Go check out the rooftop. It's the most picture-perfect view of downtown Nashville you can find. Might be a rainy weekend. That's okay. You can go inside. There is so much space in the bar downstairs to sit at the bar, a table, axe throwing with your friends at Bad Axe right next door. Great spot to go watch all of the sports going on this weekend. Located near the Gulch in the upcoming Pytown neighborhood, Fog Street Lawn Club gives you a great escape from the hustle and bustle of downtown Music City while giving you a great downtown Nashville experience. Family friendly, you can host special events and their menu of British pub style food. Go try the Irish Whiskey Burger. Thank me later. Happy hour Monday through Thursday from 3 to 6 p.m. Go check them out. Fog Street Lawn Club, located on Fog Street. It is 11:02. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Lucas Panzica. Congratulations, you made it. The NFL draft starts tonight. The Tennessee Titans are expected to draft quarterback Cam Ward with the number 1 overall pick. Ward is in attendance in Green Bay. Titans radio draft coverage presented by Farm Bureau Health Plans begins tonight at 6. The draft starting at 7. The Titans made a signing, and wide receiver Tyler Lockett, the 32-year-old, broke the news himself on social media Wednesday night. Adam Schefter reported it's a 1-year deal worth $4 million up to $6 million. The 3-time All-Pro receiver is heading into his 11th year as a pro. He has missed only 3 games over the span of his 10-year NFL career. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Oh, it's draft day. You know how I know it was going to be a good day beyond that Titans fans are going to finally get this quarterback that they've been thirsting over for the better part of, I would argue, 9 months? You ever ordered a coffee, and when you go to pick the coffee up from up top, right, you're reaching above the cup of coffee, you're going to pick it up, you're going to put it in your cup holder. I don't know if you hold it from the side or if you hold it from the top as you're lowering it into your cup holder there. I do it from the top, and when I went to do it from the top, the lid came off and almost spilled my coffee everywhere. But I caught it. It was near disaster. It would have ruined my entire day. I would have made the 2 of your lives and everybody within the sound of my voice today miserable because I would have been bitching ceaselessly about the fact that I dumped my hot, dirty chai tea latte with 2 shots of espresso and almond milk.
Oh, what?
All
what
over myself. Shout out Farm City Coffee. It's a delightful.
Knew it was going to be a chai tea, soy milk.
I'm sorry.
With espresso?
Almond milk, 2 shots.
Sounds disgusting.
Well, that's on you. It's delightful. But I saved myself. And so today is going to be a good day. 615-737-1045 is the number. You got a draft day, a pre-draft day present last night. Now, maybe 32-year-old, going to be 33-year-old Tyler Lockett is not what you envisioned when you envisioned a revamped Titans wide receiver core, but he is hugely available. I think Cam Ward benefits from more veteran presence in the wide receiver room than he would with a room full of youth and inexperience who are also trying to learn a new offense alongside him.
You also need the youth and inexperience, by the way.
You sure do.
Pretty badly.
Doesn't keep you from drafting a wide receiver, which is what we're going to talk about now. Does Tyler Lockett change the draft outlook for the Tennessee Titans? Because he tweeted himself at just after 10 p.m. last night, 8 p.m. or thereabouts Pacific time, where he is currently located in Seattle, that he was going to be joining the Tennessee Titans at his advanced age of nearly 33.
Best available free agent receiver, or would that go to Keenan Allen, who will be...
No, Amari Cooper probably deserves more love than the both of them.
I don't know. Amari Cooper was he even more productive than Tyler Lockett last year?
I believe he was.
He was very efficient last year.
Yeah.
Like the metrics say that the Bills' offense was a lot better than when he was on the field versus when he was.
Yeah, efficient, but not more productive. I mean, less yards, less production overall than Tyler Lockett last
more
year.
touchdown receptions than Tyler Lockett, I believe. If memory serves, Amari Cooper had 4.
Correct.
To Tyler Lockett's 2
yes.
in 2020.
Lockett had about 600 yards in his 11th season.
Like I said, for Lockett, it's his least productive season since 2017. The last time that he was under 600 yards receiving was 2017, and that was his 3rd year in the NFL. And he's obviously been in the NFL. This will be his 11th NFL season at this point in time. So you have 2 wide receivers who are 30-plus in Calvin Ridley and Tyler Lockett. You've got a bunch of things that you can't either rely upon or who are insufficient or unavailable in Treylon Burks, Jaquan Jackson, Colton Dowell. Mason Kinsey is still around. He is probably going to be, provided that they don't usurp him on the practice squad again, he's probably going to be practice squad wide receiver 1. To his credit, he continues to survive and advance in his NFL career. Last year, he hit enough accrued games to hit the NFL pension, which is a big deal for guys like that. So congratulations to Mason Kinsey as he continues to keep his NFL dream alive, but we understand that they need better options. So, Tyler Lockett and the Titans draft strategy. It does not prevent them, of course, from drafting one wide receiver in this draft. In fact, they very much need to draft a wide receiver.
I'd like to have two.
So, who are you? There's nothing to keep them from cutting Jaquan Jackson. That's fine. I think James Prochet is also here, I should mention, but he's more a returner than he is a wide receiver, which would be the Jaquan Jackson replacement. If you had to pick between the two of them, you probably go with the guy who's more reliable across his career, and that would be Prochet.
There are two receivers on this team that are a lock to make this roster.
I'm surprised there's two.
It's Lockett and Ridley. I mean, I suppose Lockett could have a terrible
You're
camp.
counting Lockett.
Yeah, I mean, they just signed him. So, Van Jefferson is likely to make the roster.
Not based on that money. That to me is a Jamal Adams contract. That to me is, it's relative to expectation. He's not, Lockett can make up to $4 million.
Up to $6.
$4 million up to $6. Van Jefferson is basically vet minimum.
Sure.
That is this year's Jamal Adams contract where I look at that and say, they have zero expectation of him contributing whatsoever. They just needed a body.
I say he's likely to make the roster because of who he's surrounded by. Yeah. So, to me, again, wary to walk into this draft saying, whatever you do, you've got to walk out with X position. I don't want to do that. But ideally, I'd love for the Titans to get out of this draft with two receivers if it falls that way for them.
If it falls that way for them, but it very well may not. And they have positional needs everywhere. So I would again go back to this clip that we played yesterday and that we've already played earlier in the show about Mike Borgonzi talking about drafting for best player available versus team need.
Yeah, and that's part of staying true to the board. I think you're trying to marry up the need with the value too. You never want to force a need in the draft. And for us, we do have a lot of needs, so I think it's important for us to stay true to the board and really take the best available player, at that pick. But for us, like I said, we don't want to force needs here and force a pick based on that.
So that's Mike Borgonzi talking about drafting for need. And here's Mike Borgonzi talking about supporting things around a young quarterback versus building the best possible team.
Yeah, like I said, you want to surround the young quarterback with as much talent and have the environment for him to succeed. But at the same time, we're building a team here too as well. So we have to do what's best for the team at that point. Of course, we would like to go out and give that player everything he needs. But our thinking is right now there's a lot of holes in this roster, and we have to make the best decision for the team in terms of value of that player.
So, they're not giving away the farm there, obviously. He's still pretty tight-lipped, and I expect that's how Mike Borgonzi is going to be throughout his entire tenure here. There is, to me, an emphasis, though, from this front office I guess it's technically under Chad Brinker, but it's under Mike Borgonzi, that they are going to emphasize building through the trenches, and that the skill position talent doesn't mean that they're going to ignore skill position talent, but that they are looking at this current roster configuration saying, oh my God, we can't keep a quarterback upright to save our lives, and we don't have depth if one of these frontline guys who, some of them on a bit of a thin edge with no idea what Cushenberry is going to look like this year. Is Dan Moore going to be viable or just serviceable? Is Kevin Zeitler going to continue to hold up at an advanced age of 36 years old on a one-year deal? We need supporting cast for our supporting cast. Let's continue to add depth along the offensive line and pass rush help or front seven help, because those are the two best ways to start building a roster. They are having to restart. This is what Titans fans probably wanted as recently as or as far back as 2022. Just hit the reset button.
Mm-hmm.
Just hit the reset button. Stop trying to be this level of, we think we're competitive enough in a bad division. Let's just kind of piece patchwork it together and maybe we'll eke out 8 to 9 wins or something like that. No, hit the reset, rebuild the roster. This is now truly a rebuild. And if I'm to take not everything that Mike Borgonzi says is gospel, but as much as he's saying into consideration, then I think that it is way more likely, if all things are equal, that edge or even offensive line depth may make an appearance in the second round before they would go wide receiver.
They did quietly bolster that depth in the same transaction email that included them waiving NPF, which was the headline of that. The NPF era is over.
3 different players, 3 different offensive linemen, some with tackle experience, some with tackle and guard experience.
Brendan James, former 5th-round pick of the Chargers. He's played in 45 games. Sam Mustipher, a former
he's a center.
Rookie free agent with the Bears. He's played in 64 career games, right? And Olisamika Udo brings 6 years of experience. He's appeared in 57 games, 19 starts for him.
Yeah, and those guys aren't locks to make the roster either. If they find somebody who's more viable, that's hedging your bets against, okay, maybe we won't get one in the draft, but if one falls to us in the draft, let's do it. I'm not convinced, but like Luther Burden, for example. Are we doing draft hot takes today? I know you asked the question of the audience.
It's just a poll question.
On the polls. But I said yesterday that if I had a hot draft take, it would be that if Luther Burden was there at 35, the Titans would pass. Now, that's just one receiver. If Emeka Ibuka is there, for example, I don't know that they would pass on him. If Golden or, Isaiah Bond with a little bit of an off-the-field situation that they're currently working through.
God, if Emeka Ibuka is there.
Right? So that's a different scenario. But my specific one, because Luther Burden was once thought of, at least could have been, wide receiver 1 in this draft class, and has since seen his draft stock fall because he may be one of these guys that's not a great practice player, that may not be in love with the game the way that some other players might be, and he's got a bit of a situation that teams are not in love with relative to his mom, according to reports, and relative to his girlfriend's management of him.
Interesting.
So
I also dislike the way my girlfriend manages me, so I could definitely feel with Luther Burden.
Was that why you invited, what was the name of the flamingo?
Ahi.
Ahi the flamingo at the Nashville Zoo. That's why you invited Ahi to be your date to the install as opposed to Cheyenne?
Yes. Much less talkative.
Very quick headline here. Tennessee safety Jacoby Thomas is entering the transfer portal. Played for Tennessee last season. Before that, he was an MTSU transfer and had a real opportunity to start this year. So it's a little bit surprising. Hasn't been much of an exodus since the Nico fiasco, which is also slightly surprising and maybe telling. But Jacoby Thomas, the Tennessee safety, going to the portal, according to Pete Thamel.
It was really a blow to Robert's ego to see him get turned down by a flamingo.
I didn't get turned down.
Yeah, I didn't hear it, no.
Didn't you see the...
You want to rephrase?
Yeah. Rewind.
Completely consensual.
It's still a maybe.
I'm not talking about animal husbandry. The zoo will never have us back. Both of you, stop it. Stop it right now.
It was a firm maybe. You think the zoo would bring Ahi to the... We should send an email.
Stop it. I'm not asking the zoo people. They gave us entirely more than they should have on the first time around. We're not going to continue to pester these people.
Also, animal husbandry is just the act of caring for animals. So
bestiality is what I'm thinking of?
Yes.
Okay. Well, stay away from the flamingos or any other animal at this point in time.
Talk about range. The last 3 minutes of this show.
Yeah. No. Please tell me you said that in my ear as opposed to on the air.
Yes, I did not say that.
I got so scared. The world will never know. I hate when radio people do that. Oh, the show that we're doing off the air is way better than the one that we did on the air. That one was one that would have cost us all our jobs.
I have draft nuggies.
No, thank God.
Please save us. Draft nuggies next.
Hey guys, it's Lucas. Grab your friends because there is an awesome event coming up at Game Terminal. It's their 4th annual Beer Fest, Saturday, May 17th from 2 to 6 p.m. I'll be there. Cannot wait. It's called Beer Fest, but trust me, it's more than just beer. Get ready for a day filled with beer, cider, alcohol tastings at this unforgettable in-person beer festival. We're talking about that 8,000 square foot back patio at Game Terminal, housing over 35 tastings of beer, cider, alcohol across a growing list of 20 plus different vendors. There will be music with a DJ, fun, excitement. And if you've ever been to Game Terminal, you know there will be games. You think you've been to an arcade bar? But then you go to Game Terminal and you realize what an arcade bar really is. Over 250 games spanning 40 years. From pinball to Pac-Man, Mario Kart, anything in between, Game Terminal has everything you've ever wanted to play. It's going to be a great time. Go to 1045thezone.com for tickets. $40 now, $50 at the door. And the best part, it's a charity event. Proceeds go to the Nashville Humane Society. We will see you at Beer Fest at Game Terminal May 17th.
It's time for NFL Draft Nuggets with Lucas Panzica.
Now, wait just a damn minute. Wait.
Who's derailing the show?
Come on, dude. You messed up the imaging.
You spend so much time wasting people's time playing that thing for 2.5 minutes, and today you're going to make it last 2 seconds?
You always got to complain about something. Always with the drama.
Shut up and give me the nuggies.
First, can we hear from Coach Reed?
Now who's bogging it down?
I sure will, Coach Andy Reid. So, Shador Sanders might be the most interesting player in this draft. There's no question he's the player with the widest range. That's a guy that would be surprising to see him go 2 or 3, but it's feasible. He could also drop out of the first round entirely, it sounds like, if we are to listen to Jonathan Jones of CBS with reporting on what he's hearing about the Colorado quarterback.
Whoopsies. Isn't that what Jackson used to say when he messed up? I definitely messed up.
I will come back there and choke you.
You don't listen. Didn't somebody at ESPN get in trouble for saying that? Don't be taking that as easy to choke nobody now.
Yeah, who was that?
But there was also not what's the word that I'm looking for? I don't know. I'm scared now because I don't want to talk about the stuff that's in the Shannon Sharp lawsuit.
That's okay. Let's talk about Jonathan Jones.
Hang on. We'll take 2. Beep. So, Shador Sanders might be the most interesting player in this draft.
This is such a bad segment.
There's no question that he's got the widest range of where he could fall. Would it be surprising if he went 2 or 3? Yeah, but it's feasible. He could also drop out of the first round entirely. If we're to listen to Jonathan Jones of CBS, who had this to say on what he's hearing about the Colorado quarterback.
What are you hearing on where Shador Sanders ultimately is going to fall in this draft?
He could go out of the first round. He very well may not be a first-round quarterback. He may not be the second quarterback that is selected. Different teams have different valuations on him. More teams than not that I speak to tell me that they have a second-round grade on Shador Sanders. Why? Well, he has an average relatively arm. He has average, relatively athleticism. You're talking about getting drafted in the first or second day of the NFL draft. You are an incredible athlete. You compare it to your dad or you compare it to other fantastic quarterbacks in this draft, it's average. You consider his completion percentage, very high, very accurate. Now break it down and see how many of those throws were at or behind the line of scrimmage. All of these things start to, and you had the Heisman Trophy winner that you were throwing to kind of help those things out. All those things start to add up a little bit before you even get to any sort of interviews and how he made me feel at a combine interview or at a pro day or how he carries himself, whatever you want to say about that. And so I think that there is a very good chance that he is not selected on Thursday night. I think the logical place he goes is 21 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. But if he doesn't, and a team does not trade up for him back into the first round of the draft, he will be waiting to hear his name called until Friday.
How about that? Shador Sanders. A lot of noise on him falling out of the first round entirely.
All right, so what's more likely now? On draft day, Thursday, April 24th at 11:25 a.m. Central Time, is Shador Sanders more likely to go in? I'll even widen the range to the top 10 to include Vegas, to include the Saints. Is Shador Sanders more likely to go in the top 10 or fall out of the first round?
The latter.
I'm going to say fall out of the first round.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are teams that like Jackson Dart better than him. I think there are teams that will like Jalen Milroe's athletic upside more than they like Shador Sanders' clear and obvious ceiling. I think that Shador Sanders, the amount of blowback that Tim Hasselbeck got about a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, when he went on NFL Live and said that his comp for Shador Sanders was Andy Dalton, who was famously a second-round pick, and for a substantial period of time, a good NFL quarterback. I mean, there was a period of time where at least, what was that season where the Bengals had A.J. Green, Marvin Jones, Jeremy Hill, Gio Bernard, and one of the best, Andrew Whitworth, was still on that offensive line. Dalton was talked about as a potential MVP candidate. Obviously, he didn't win an MVP, but still, Andy Dalton is a good enough quarterback with a good enough surrounding cast, or at least at the peak of his career. Shador Sanders can probably be the same. People killed Tim Hasselbeck for that. What if he's that? And the thing that is carrying the most weight is the fact that his last name is Sanders. I don't think teams, I think that is more likely to hurt him than it is to help him in this particular situation. Because the team that drafts him just because they'll get more attention on them, or overdrafts him just because there will be more attention on on him is the most likely to get their front office fired.
Feels like a recipe for disaster. By the way, tune in tonight to hear if Shador Sanders' name is called with Titans Radio's award-winning draft coverage of the first round beginning at 6 o'clock right after 3HL tonight on 104.5 The Zone. You can hear every selection and analysis that you're not going to get anywhere else. Rhett Bryan, Amy Wells, Ramon Foster, Coach Dave McGinnis.
Oh, Ramon's on there?
And, Ramon is on tonight and this weekend. And the new voice of the Titans, Taylor Zarzer. Live from the Titans draft party at Nissan Stadium, Titans Radio's draft coverage is presented by Farm Bureau Health Plans, making health coverage easy since 1947. You can jump in on the F&M Bank chat where we are streaming on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Randy says, is it just me or is the process of Sanders this year similar to Malik Willis in that 2022 class? Perceived as a weak QB class, Malik Willis going to be a first-rounder. Ironically, Pittsburgh was tied to Malik a lot. Mike Tomlin spent a ton of time with him at the Senior Bowl.
And ended up taking Kenny Pickett, so they drafted a quarterback.
They did take a quarterback, was the only first-round quarterback in that draft, in a similar spot to where that was, 22, Kenny Pickett?
22.
And now the Steelers are picking 21, and then, as we know, Malik fell to 86.
Oh, no, he was 20. Pickett was 20 that year.
But it does feel somewhat similar. Obviously, Sanders has so much more around him.
This 2022 was one of the worst draft quarterback classes I've ever seen. This is not that.
No, it's not that. But Sanders to Willis specifically. Like, Sanders, the only
Willis
reason...
ended up being a third-round pick, though.
I understand. Sanders could end up being a second-round pick. Like, the arc is similar. The only reason we talked about Sanders at all as a top 3 pick early in the process was because of the lack of depth in this quarterback class. Same goes for Malik Willis back in 2022.
It's tough for me to allow that comparison. Like
I don't like that comparison.
He played against real competition at Colorado. Malik was in a funky offense at Liberty.
Not to compare the player, to be clear.
So I guess I'm confused as to what is the comparison that you're trying to make, because I'm not computing.
It just reminds you of the path that Malik Willis took in the pre-draft process. Going to be a first-round pick, might be the first quarterback taken. The Steelers might land him. Next thing you know, he lands in the third. It's been almost copy-paste with Sanders. Going to be a first-round pick, could be the first quarterback taken, might be going to the Steelers. Now he might fall out of the first round entirely.
Path, not the prospect.
Yeah, nothing to do with the prospect and the traits.
I've got it.
Yeah, completely different prospects.
I thought you were alleging that he was falling for similar concern. No, similar fall. And it's like, well,
totally different.
I agree with that.
Yeah. We mentioned yesterday Peter Schrager's mock draft.
So wait, quickly, though, because Q on YouTube brings up an interesting point. Why is that not a better comparison to Will Levis?
Yeah, fair enough.
I think they're again.
They are not. I'm not talking about player similarity. I'm talking about storyline arc.
Yeah. It's just the class, I guess, because it's a weak quarterback class. That's the Will Levis wasn't being talked about as a top 5 pick because it was a weak class. He was being talked about as a top 5 pick because he had top 5 traits.
Because he had a rocket launcher arm and he's 6'4", and he may not be 6'4". He's 6'3".
But that's kind of the opposite of Shador. Shador doesn't really have those tangible traits.
Exactly.
He has the intangible traits.
Malik had more traits than Shador.
I was just going to say, I would argue that both Malik Willis and Will Levis have higher level, and again, it doesn't mean that they will be better players, because we know that Malik Willis had a funky path to where he now seems to be thriving in Green Bay versus Will Levis, who imploded in his first full season as a starter. I would argue that both of those players have significantly higher level traits than Shador Sanders. I think Malik Willis, Levis is an unwilling runner, but I think he's a better athlete than Shador is.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
But we would also be remiss not to mention that, you don't have to have traits to be a good quarterback.
Right.
Like Brock Purdy fell in the draft because he was not a physical specimen. He had everything mentally, but he did not have the physicality or the tangible traits to push him higher in the draft.
What is physically impressive about Jimmy Garoppolo? Other than, maybe that's a bad comparison.
Super handsome.
Yes, I was.
Great jaw.
I was just, as soon as I said that, I regretted that, because Jimmy is one of the most
only thing tangible
attractive
about him
people
is
playing an NFL quarterback ever.
Most tangible thing about him is how you just want to put your hands on him.
Yeah, he is objectively gorgeous.
No, I get what you're saying, which, again, is why I get this sneaky feeling that one of these quarterbacks, a Will Howard, a Quinn Ewers, a Kyle McCord, that gets taken on day 3, is going to just pop up at some point, whether he's called into action as a backup for an injured starter, and just kind of take the opportunity and run with it. I just get that feeling, because those guys don't have the traits, but they have all the production behind them, high-level production in college football. Field Yates has mocked in his latest mock draft, his final mock draft, Shador Sanders, 29 to the Cleveland Browns. he's got Cleveland trading back up into the first round in a trade with Washington to take Shador Sanders and reunite him with Travis Hunter, who in this mock they would take in the number 2 overall pick. Wouldn't that be interesting?
It would indeed.
Speaking of the quarterbacks, Field Yates has got Jackson Dart. Oh, I got to scroll up to find it. While I do that, let's listen to Aditi Kimbawale of CBS on what she's hearing about the Ole Miss quarterback.
What I'm being told is that Jackson Dart is not going to fall beyond that number 9 pick and the Saints. Somebody could potentially go above the Saints to try to go get him, but that's not what I'm hearing right now, that is a pick that Kellen Moore really likes.
Whoever's cutting these, come on, y'all.
That was a terrible job by CBS.
Second one in a row by CBS where y'all are putting clips out that don't have the complete audio.
Second run in a row.
Second one in a row?
Mm-hmm.
Field Yates.
Second run in a row.
Okay, second rung on the ladder. Hey, I'm about done with it. I'm about off this ladder.
Lakers in 5.
I'm going to throw you off that ladder.
Jeff Hardy. We got Seamus joining the show at 11:45.
We sure do.
Aditi, coming up next. Aditi Kimbawale has Jackson Dart going no later than 9. Field Yates has him falling out of the first round entirely.
I still don't think I don't know why I'm so convicted about the Saints not taking an offensive player at number 9 if that's where they end up picking. But I'm convinced in my head that they are going to address their defense with that 9 overall pick as opposed to a quarterback, a wide receiver. Don't need running backs at this point in time.
That's what Field has. He's got Jalen Walker out of Georgia.
But this conflicts the reporting that we've heard coming into the this week was that, the Saints aren't going to look at a quarterback at 9, but they will look at it their second-round pick. Aditi is flipping that the Saints will not let Dart get past them at 9. So now I wonder, you have to wonder, is this smokescreen? How do the Saints really? Probably a position they would prefer. The unpreferred notion of this is that they did so much attention to draw Jackson Dart to them that what Aditi alluded to would be that someone would jump them to take Dart, which is insane to me that we have already gone so far in this process where before it was Cam Ward, Shador, and then Jackson Dart is a far behind third. Now Jackson Dart has jumped all the way up to second quarterback in this draft if it plays out the way that Aditi is alluding to.
Well, what were you showing me this morning about Joe Shane's son on Instagram?
Oh, that's right. It's getting messy over there. So Joe Shane's son, if you remember from the offseason version of Hard Knocks, Joe Shane asks the room, hey, who should I draft? And his son from the corner playing on his Switch looks up and he goes, you should take Jaden Daniels. And he's like, okay. But realistically, who should I take? He's like, you only get this job once, Dad. You should trade up and get him.
That's so right.
So his son last night.
Fire the dad and hire the kid.
Make the kid the GM.
Isn't the kid also on record in the Hard Knocks talking about Saquon?
Yes, not letting Saquon go. See, the Jets are in the wrong business. Letting Woody
genius over there.
Right. Let him come over from the other New York.
Joe Shane's kid is everything that Woody Johnson wishes his kid was.
So Joe Shane's son shared a Jackson Dart highlight package on his Instagram last night, and after everyone picked up on it, I don't know why insiders are following maybe for moments just like this.
Because the kid is smarter than the father.
He made his Instagram private and deleted the story. So the Giants.
Spicy.
He's going to get his dad fired. He's going to get his dad fired.
I think his dad
Why are you firing me? Because your son's better at this than you are.
That would have made an incredible 90s movie.
Because a literal 15-year-old could do this job better than you.
Oh my! Like a
Angels in the Outfield or
like
Richie Rich, like Richie Rich style. It's like, what happens when your dad is no longer cutting the mustard at work? Bring the kid in.
Man. I was thinking like Mike. But for a front office executive, like his genius 8-year-old.
That would be my new draft day Christmas movie.
So, ton of smoke. Nobody knows where Jackson Dart or Shador Sanders will land. Jay Glazer says that the two guys who are absolutely universally loved in this draft are Travis Hunter and Ashton Genty. One coach said to Jay Glazer about Travis Hunter, quote, "We've never seen a guy like this. He's not just the best player in this draft. He's so special. He's probably the best guy in the next 10. Also says teams love, with several E's, Genty's makeup as a player and person too. The Genty to Jacksonville at 5 has picked up a lot of steam.
The two of you
Field Yates
scoffed
has
at me.
that as well.
No, you scoffed at me a month ago.
I'm giving you credit right now. Buck came in, and Buck only says things if someone else told it to him. So I assume someone smarter than him gave this to him.
True.
Or he heard it on a podcast.
I knew it. Buck came in and was like, I think Ashton Jeanty goes 5 to the Jags. And I was opposed to it. I will give Buck credit. He said this a month ago. But I also want to say, has anyone's name aged more poorly than Jay Glazer over probably since John Hancock? Like that is
What do you mean?
Glazer. It's like, oh, Jay's just glazing them with Jay. Like, I feel like his name just aged poorly.
Don't make him sit in that.
Come on.
Don't do that.
It's nasty back here. Come on. Help me clean this up.
Field Yates not glazing on James Pierce Jr. He does not have him.
Don't laugh at that. So football character is the big issue with James Pierce.
Yeah.
Is that enough to see a talented player fall out? But there are plenty of, like, I heard Daniel Jeremiah, speaking of things that I heard on a podcast, Daniel Jeremiah was on Mina Kimes' show recently that she was previewing with us. What was that, last week? I think Mina was on the show.
Friday.
And she said that she was going to present Daniel Jeremiah with a trade package so enticing because she'd been presenting various guests on her podcast with a trade package for one that would make them consider, that would, if they were the Titans, would make them consider moving off of one. But Daniel Jeremiah brought this idea up first and foremost about the sense that it was really going to be what exactly did you have? What exactly did
From
you just
Jay
leave?
Glazer?
Yeah, from Glazer.
That Travis Hunter and Ashton Jeanty are the two guys that are universally loved.
Yeah, that is something that would be not as difficult to overcome for a running back this year, the positional value, and that would allow more teams to consider. Bert, you may disagree with this. Are there?
I do.
Go on, finish. We don't have all day.
Come on.
We literally have an hour and a half left. 3 running backs, I could argue, depending on the teams that draft them, could go in the first round.
I would be right there with you. I do agree with you.
I don't think that will happen, but I think that there are 3 running backs in this class that are worthy of first-round draft
Jeanty,
picks.
Hampton, and
Travion Henderson.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is what we talked about yesterday, and I don't want to take one of your last nuggies if this is on your board, but it came out yesterday, the Chiefs doing extensive work on Travion Henderson, and me and Lucas talked before the show, is this another Clyde Edwards-Helaire situation where, hey, we're in a great position, we don't have any, overbearing needs, all we need is someone who can keep us on time. Because right now, they just have guys who will get you what is there.
And has helped them win Super Bowls.
And it's helped them win Super Bowls. But does Patrick Mahomes say, no, I need a difference maker at running back. I don't need another defensive tackle. We're paying Chris Jones. We have George Karlaftis. We have a great defense. Do we give me a difference maker? The best difference maker you can in round 1.
Maybe Sheamus has some nuggies.
We'll talk to WWE superstar Sheamus coming up next. I'm so mad about that promo. Who cares about my facial hair? Get it the hell out of the system. Somebody, anybody. If you want to get your system back to operating at a high level, the Tennessee Men's Clinic is where you go. They are there to put you in position to succeed if you're starting to feel just a little more tired than you have in your previous years, or if you're starting to see performance issues and you've tried to address that with online fixes, online pharmacies that promise you a return to form, but don't necessarily deliver or fail after a period of time. If you are somebody who thinks this is just a part of the process of getting older, it doesn't have to be that way. That's why the Tennessee Men's Clinic is here to help you. These guys don't do guesswork. They make it happen. Real science, real treatments, no gimmicks, no online quick fixes. Because those online pills are too expensive and generic to just not work. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, their medical providers build a plan around you, your body, your goals, and what it takes to get you back to feeling like yourself again. Whether it's testosterone, ED treatments, stuff most guys don't even know exists, the Tennessee Men's Clinic is there to serve you. So call them today to set up an appointment and make sure that you have the best plan in place. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is at 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090 or online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. WWE superstar Sheamus, noted Titans fan, noted Nashville SC fan, a fellow Notre Dame fan, Lucas.
Sure.
Like myself.
You don't get to do that.
I sure will. When he shows up here, we will talk to Sheamus about WWE. We're coming off WrestleMania 41. Is that correct, Bert?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Well, don't tell me sounds good to me. I don't know anything about wrestling. We're leaning on you heavily here.
I know that's perfect. I would love for you to be like, so, Sheamus, coming off your recent match with Hulk Hogan, how did that go?
I'm not going to do that. Even I am self-aware enough to know my limitations. But as we await Sheamus, we will take your phone calls in the meantime on this draft day, 615-737-1045. We'll talk draft specifically and Tyler Lockett's fit in the Titans offense with Greg Cosell at 12:20 today. Alex in Hermitage is next.
How are you guys? How are you, Buck? Lucas?
Good.
Hey, I want to get off topic here. It's going to be a little random. Bert, are you there, Bert?
No.
No. Hey, I've got a question for you. The other day you passed out on prime time. How many hours are you actually in the office that you're so tired to passing out on prime time?
So you want to give context to
Get this guy the hell out of here.
professional
Who does this
mistake?
guy think he is coming into my workplace dogging me out?
Yeah, go ahead and tell everybody how hard you are or are not working to the point where you fell asleep in the middle of one of your only responsibilities on prime time.
All right, Buck was doing a boring show. No, he was doing a great job. Doing primetime, and I may have been thinking a little too hard about, just the forward progression of the station and just really trying to optimize things that need to be optimized. And I may have taken a little nap. I may have kind of just like drifted off into La La Land. And what does Buck do? If I saw Buck fall asleep, if he was my producer, I'd kind of just like,
If I was your producer.
oh yeah, that'll probably be like that one day. I would just kindly, do your job for you. I'd let you sleep. He must have had a tough day. What does Buck do? Buck throws me in the stream, and I'm snoring so stinking loud that everybody in the audience, all you hear is.
It was really loud.
Then Buck wakes me up. I wake up. I don't know where the hell I'm at. Buck shames me once again. And I think the primetime audience is also halfway culpable for it. You guys are the reason he did that. He did that to embarrass me because I am the people's champ. I am the one that all the people look to for the great knowledge on primetime.
Until they say something about the Ravens, you get butthurt and you start lashing out at the audience.
Well, if they don't want to be blocked, they shouldn't talk crap.
Big Boss Bert has so many Big Boss Bert duties that sometimes he's got to take a Big Boss Bert nap.
Oh, my God.
Damn.
How are you this bad? You don't know what time it is. You can't say words correctly. You sputter out in the middle of one of your terrible bits that you try to perpetuate.
Well, you can't spell, so who's the real loser?
And your ears look big when you do that one ear look. Call up here. You know how people usually are like, say something nice. Say something nice to them right now and apologize.
We will on Friday Fire. We'll do it later.
No, I mean, I want people to call in now and say some mean things to Buck. If you have a mean comment you've always wanted to get out to Buck.
Like they don't do that anyway.
No, but I want you to hear it. I want you to feel.
I hear it every day.
I want you to feel the negativity.
Lucas has access to my Twitter mentions. He won't stick his face in there because it's like an acid bath every day.
And just why? There's no reason for me to look into your Twitter mentions.
Yeah, because it's a terrible place. So, as we get ready to talk about the number one overall pick tonight, we've talked at great length about the number one overall pick tonight. We did this on primetime last night, and I wonder if this is an exercise that would be worth doing here with the radio audience too. We have talked. How did you phrase the question the other day? I can't remember who the guest was, but you said we had talked Cam Ward into the ground, and that's definitely true because we've been talking about Cam Ward, 4 months at this point in time. Is there a favorite piece of Cam Ward analysis? What was the moment that you bought in? I guess. Let me ask the audience. Let me ask the room. I'll give you my answer as well. What was the moment that you were all in, or at least bought in? You don't have to be all in until the kid plays a game or takes a snap or goes through a practice. However,
not taking him with the number one pick. I don't know if it was a specific moment.
I have one.
Okay.
It happened this week.
Pate.
Yes. Josh Pate And if, Bert, you might be able to
Nope.
I think we
pull that tweet up.
We could spend a whole segment on that tomorrow after he is a Tennessee Titan.
No, because we're going to have a million. The news cycle is going to move so fast. People are going to want to talk about receivers. They're going to want to talk about pass rush. They're not going to want to relitigate Cam Ward analysis. Today is our last moment to be reflective before
that
this.
is so wrong.
SOB
Cam
is
Ward will
finally
be a Tennessee Titan tonight. Like that tomorrow. That is the story.
That's fine, but we're here now, and we have about 6 more minutes of this segment. So unless you've got a better idea, this is what we're going to talk about.
Okay, I
Since
do.
when do we have 6 more minutes of this segment?
I do. When both of you always go long.
Both of you?
I do have a better solution. Josh Pate tweeted 3 hours ago, I have 3 Cam Ward stories for you. Happy draft day. It's 4 minutes. I'll play it right now for you.
Let's go.
When someone tries to be a vocal leader, but he's not wired to be one, it is so cringeworthy. Whatever the opposite of that is, that's Cam Ward. So I'm down there last summer. PLWs, player-led workouts, are happening in summer. It's not the coaches on the field. It's just the players running the workouts. Cam Ward at that point has just gotten on campus. And I'm down there meeting with people. I'm down there working out that day, but the way Miami's practice facility is configured, the weight room opens up to the indoor practice field. So I got the door open so I can hear them practicing out there. So all of them arrive and they're getting together. Cam Ward, if you picture a general commanding troops, that's what it looked like. This dude just walked on campus. This is major college football. This dude just walked in here from Washington State. Like most people, candidly, playing at Miami cannot point out Pullman, Washington on a map. Most people watching the show can't. So he's been playing out in some other state, in some other part of the country, halfway to Russia, and he comes down here. And you got some good players on that Miami team. And not only do every one of them have their mouth shut listening to him, he's in their face dog cussing them, and they're taking it. Linemen are taking it just as much as wide receivers are taking it. And I remember looking at that and thinking to myself, he's been on campus a week, less than a week at the point I was down there. It's such a testament to what legit alpha leadership looks like. Because there were guys who have been at Miami 4 years who could never get away with that. He walked in the door and within 72 hours had the entire program by the throat. Second thing I remember about Cam Ward, they got into fall camp, and I went to a practice during fall camp, and they're working red zone. And it's towards the end of practice. And so they're working towards this end zone. I'm standing back here. I can hear Shannon Dawson calling the plays in. I'm standing there watching them from behind the line of scrimmage. And Ward threads one for a touchdown. And either Mario, Shannon Dawson, somebody just looked over at the officials who you have working practice and just told them, just call a hold. There wasn't one. Just call a hold. Let's just see what happens. They're trying to push him mentally. And so he loses it for a second because he knows good and well it was a bad call. But they just regroup, and they go score again. And then they call another phantom penalty to negate the score because they just want to see how he's going to react. And he loses it again, composes himself again. They go down there a third time. They call a third penalty on him. They re-rack it again, go down there. This dude scores 28 points worth of red zone touchdowns over the span of probably 10 minutes of real time when you factor in how long it took. All they were doing was pushing him mentally because he did not go through spring with them. So they're trying to figure out, yeah, we know he's got arm talent. We know he's incredibly mobile, but like neck up. Can we count on him? Live bullets flying. I mean, what's he going to do? Is he going to get penalties? Is he going to lose his mind, lose his cool? And I think that day I was watching a lot of guys walk off the field. You got coaches looking at each other just smiling because they know, all right, we learned a lot today. None of it was physical. We learned a lot today. Then later in the year, that was when we were down there during the season. He's in the thick of the Heisman race. And I was down there. They'd probably practiced that day. I'm down there, and the Heisman Trust sends him a letter. And the Heisman Trust, I don't know if you've ever gotten mail from the Heisman, but it looks pretty legit when it comes in. And so they've wrapped up practice. Some assistant goes and gets Cam Ward, bring him back down the tunnel, and he's handed his letter. Now, this is not a letter that announces that you're a finalist. It's one of those letters that says you're kind of on the narrowed down watch list. Like you're really on the radar. You're probably going to be a Heisman finalist. I am telling you, if you got this piece of mail, this thing would go on your mantle until the end of time. It's that fancy looking. He takes that thing, looks at it, says, what is this? He's not performing for anyone. I don't even think he knew anyone else could hear it. He just looks at it and says, what is this? And he has it explained to him. And he said, So I'm not even a finalist. Like, this doesn't even mean anything to me. And just, it's on the ground. I should have picked it up, but I didn't. And just walks off. Not a disrespectful move at all. I'm just saying, up until you actually achieve something to him, it didn't really matter how fancy the lettering was. It didn't matter how cool that seal looked. It's just, didn't really mean as much as maybe it would have to someone else.
That's Josh Pate telling a couple of Cam Ward stories that you heard yesterday on the radio show. You can check out the full interview with Josh Pate, where we talked a great deal about how that video of him talking about Joey Aguilar and the Tennessee quarterback situation, that really took off, huh?
It is the second most viewed video in Zone TV history.
Okay.
Go watch it. Subscribe while you're there.
Vols fans very thirsty for more information about their quarterback situation, and also information about Cam Ward, which was great to hear from Pate himself, who has better access than most in the world of college football. All right, coming up next, how the Titans can let Cam Ward be himself. Greg Cosell, 2 in the final hour on this draft day. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
It is 12:02. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Lucas Panzica. The NFL draft starts tonight. The Tennessee Titans are expected to draft quarterback Cam Ward with the number 1 overall pick. Titans radio draft coverage presented by Farm Bureau Health Plans begins tonight at 6. The draft beginning at 7. The Titans did make a signing in wide receiver Tyler Lockett. The 32-year-old broke the news himself yesterday on social media. Adam Schefter reporting it's a 1-year deal worth $4 million up to $6 million. The 3-time All-Pro receiver heads into his 11th NFL season in 2025. In transfer portal news, Tennessee safety Jacoby Thomas will enter the portal. According to Pete Thamel of ESPN, Thomas recorded 14 tackles last season after transferring in from MTSU. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
When you draft a quarterback number 1 overall, as the Titans fully expect to do with the number 1 overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft, you have to do everything within your power as an organization to support him. Now, you may say, well, duh, you idiot. There's nothing profound about that, but I'm talking everybody from Amy Adams Strunk down to the Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park janitorial staff. Whatever Cam Ward needs to succeed, you go out and you get it for him. One of those things is a coach who's got quarterback development in his blood, who's played the position, who has coached the position, who has been an offensive coordinator, a quality control coach, a quarterback's coach, and now a play-calling head coach, even if that head coach was brought in to salvage a different quarterback. The idea, and I mentioned this yesterday, that a commitment to Cam Ward should also be a commitment at least until the end of the season for Brian Callahan. If this team does not meet expectations, then you can have a different conversation after the fact. But the worst-case scenario to me is bringing Cam Ward in, getting him ingratiated into Brian Callahan's system, and then moving on from Brian Callahan if a team that is clearly going to be an NFL bottom feeder in 2025, but a more exciting bottom feeder because they'll have a new starting quarterback. If she fires for a 4th straight season, a coach or a general manager, in this particular case, it would be more likely to be a coach because her record wasn't sufficient enough or her team's record wasn't sufficient enough, understanding that, what does Chad Brinker keep saying? Patience over panic. So you need to let Brian Callahan have an opportunity to work with this player over an extended period of time. And that was something that Brian Callahan, it wasn't quite pounding his chest over at the end of the season because they were 3-14, and there was no reason at all that anybody associated with that franchise should be pounding their chest about anything. But the thing that he was most convicted about in his locker room cleanout press conference day and continued to have that theme all through the pre-draft process was, I know quarterbacks. I've worked with all different kinds of quarterbacks, all different skill sets of quarterbacks, designed offenses for all manner of different kinds of players that have succeeded at various levels, and then one failed in Will Levis. So now, Brian Callahan is looking to redeem himself regarding the quarterback development situation, and he was asked an interesting question on Tuesday at the pre-draft press conference about how to properly coach a player who has some traits and some habits that may not be conventional without stamping those things that make him special out.
Tricky question. I think there's definitely the element of, guys have unique traits, and you try your best to not interfere with those. I don't want to do something that's going to take away what makes a player great, what their edge is. There's also a way that you have to play the position a lot not all the time, but a lot of the time in the NFL, that does lead to success. There's an efficiency part of it that matters, but when it's time to put the cape on and go be Superman, you see the guys around the league that all do it, and there's a lot of them that can make those big plays and big moments. And you want the quarterback to feel comfortable when it's time to make those types of plays or take those types of risks or make a tight window throw, that they have the green light and the confidence from us that it's okay to do it. And that's all a part of the development. And there's things that they'll make some bad decisions as a young player, and you got to correct them. And then they're going to make plays that are remarkable, and we're all going to be excited about watching it. I know there's definitely moments for me as you watch quarterbacks around the league, and you just know that the coach is over on the sideline going, like, throw it away, throw it away, throw it away, and all of a sudden they make an unbelievable play. And that's what makes the players in this league, and you don't want to take that away from them. But there's a balance between teaching the situation in a moment, and when is probably the right time for it, and when maybe we can throw the ball away or check the ball down. So it's a balance, certainly, and guys earn the right to do that and earn the trust to do that when they make those decisions and make the plays when those things matter. To me, it's over time you earn the right to do that, and sometimes it's terrifying as a coach, and that's more of a me problem than it is a them problem. So there is a balance, though, and there's a line that which you got to be mindful of, but you certainly don't want to take what's special about a player away from them.
That's something that I think, and this is the highest form of that example, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But there's a very key difference there. They had a whole year to stamp out that stuff and walk that line.
Cam's going to play right away.
Right, backing up Alex Smith. Titans don't have that luxury, and he's surrounded by a worse situation than Mahomes was.
Far worse.
So it is very tricky. Tricky question, as Brian Callahan said. And also, how does that translate over to the leadership qualities that Josh Pate, we just heard, talking about? He talked about it on this show, talked about it on his show. Because all of those stories from Miami are awesome, and I'm with you. Like, that is the type of thing that you hear, and you're just bought in. This team needs somebody to follow, to rally around so desperately. But in those stories, he's the old head. He's the guy that shows up at Miami having dominated at not one but two other college football programs and is brought in with some big bucks to help take Miami to the next level. So when he's coming into this situation, he's the rookie. It's quite the opposite. Can you have that leadership style as aggressive as it was at the college level and just carry it over to the NFL? I mean, Titans need it, no question, but how do you walk that line if you're Cam Ward?
You don't. You be the same person the whole way through. You come in and you treat Jeff Simmons and Amani Hooker and Calvin Ridley, who apparently he's FaceTimed with, according to Cam. Jimmy talked to Cam at the draft at the NFL Play 60 event where a lot of these prospects are available who are going to attend the actual draft, and Cam Ward said that he had a FaceTime conversation with Calvin Ridley. You talked to them exactly the way that you were talking to Xavier Restrepo and all the other Miami players or Wazoo players or Incarnate Word players because you're the quarterback, and I said so.
Okay, I don't know if it's that simple.
It is.
A lot easier said than done.
No, because anything else would be inauthentic, Lucas, and that locker room needs it. The reason why I bought in on Cam Ward when Pate was in here, what was that, yesterday, 2 days ago?
Yesterday.
Or
two, yeah, I don't know.
Because what Pate described is a quality that I know definitively that Titans locker room does not have.
Nope.
And they so desperately need it. I have covered, this will be my 9th Titans team that I have covered. I have never seen a locker room as devoid of that specific quality as I did last year's team. And that's not a personal shot at anybody. When you go through the life cycle that NFL teams do of competitiveness, you lose pieces. You lose critically important pieces. Guys get paid to go elsewhere and bring those qualities beyond what they bring just on the field to those places to be foundational building blocks for other teams that are in need of those things that you're chasing. And I went through the list of players at length that they've lost over the course of the last, I'd argue, 6 years that helped them have that well-rounded leadership group. But they've never had a quarterback with that specific quality, and that quarterback is going to have to take that mantle on fully. I want him to do it all the way. I want him to be himself all the way. I don't want him to feel, you talk about overcoaching on the field qualities, I don't want them to make him deferential just because, well, you're a rookie and you haven't earned it yet. No, don't try and tamp down that because it is a part of what makes him him. It's a part of what makes those qualities essential, and that brings the talent along with him. If he can get the buy-in from a bunch of grown-ass adults who have families and children at home, the same way that he can do with Xavier Restrepo and all the other Miami players that Pate mentioned in that is what I want him to do here because they need it.
Yes, they do. But he will be a rookie, and he will not have proven it yet.
Don't care. Neither did A.J. Brown, and it didn't stop A.J.
Sure. But I'm just saying, I don't know that you can approach it the same way when you're talking about, as TK says in the chat, dog-cussing dudes in their 30s with wives and kids as opposed to the 20-year-olds you're surrounded by at Miami when you're the one that's been around. I agree with you.
Yourself.
The Titans need that confidence. They need that swagger. They need that from Cam Ward.
They need him to be him, Lucas.
But
I don't care what level of football he's playing
It's
at.
just very easy for us to say that and much harder for Cam Ward to put that into practice with 30-year-olds around him.
Sure, but these jobs are not easy. There are all manner of degrees of difficulty around playing quarterback in the NFL. He has to have this or he's not going to last.
Yes, and you don't have to be buddy-buddy with people, but you also need your teammates.
Yes, of course. I'm not saying that he needs to be overbearing. I'm saying that he needs to be authentic. That's it. Because if he's too much over the top, they'll sniff him out.
Yes.
The 30-year-olds with children.
He needs to be. Nobody's going to disagree with that. But we have to acknowledge.
Then what are you disagreeing
We
with?
have to acknowledge that it is a different situation.
Fine.
That you're walking into the NFL with pros that have been in it for years and years.
It was a different situation from Wazoo to Miami. Do it again. It was a different situation from Miami to the Titans.
That's not what I'm talking. You know what I mean, though. Going from college to the NFL. I have no idea
what you mean.
It's very different to lead guys in their 30s that have been in the league for years and years than guys that are your age or younger.
You're overcomplicating this. All those dudes care about is that you're real. You're overcomplicating it. It is the simple matter of authenticity. Players can sniff it out from coaches if they're inauthentic, from general managers. They don't want all this crap. They deal with it from enough people who are around them in their circle.
Yes.
They want their leader
But none of it matters.
Himself.
None of it matters if he doesn't play well. Like, you can do all of that stuff. Dog cussing people at your first practice like Pate was so impressed with, and that's great. But I don't think you truly have people following you until you take it to the field.
Jeff, you had Jeffrey Simmons bought in after the Atlanta game. Will Damn Levis, that whole thing.
Why? Because he threw 4 touchdowns. Like, you have to take it to the field, and then people will follow.
And you have questions about him taking it to the field? I'm confused as to why you don't think this person is capable of that.
I'm not saying he's not capable.
Then what is your
of that.
argument?
I'm simply acknowledging it is a different situation that he's walking into. I want him to be himself, but it's much easier said than done to just grab a locker room of NFL players, follow me, I'm the leader, until he shows it on the field.
Thank you for your groundbreaking analysis that the NFL is a significant
You're
degree
acting
of
like it's
difficulty.
the same thing. You're acting like it's very easy and the same thing to do.
I am saying it's the same thing because the only thing that he has to do is be himself.
Yes.
Everything else will follow along. The way that he's elevated his game at every stop, the way that he has commanded troops, essentially, in a football locker room, the way that he has earned the respect of his coaches. Authenticity will win out overall. Anything else is beside the fact, and he will take that to the field, and we will see the results, and then we will let the situation play itself out as a result. If we take much longer, we're not going to get to Greg Cosell
None of it
NFL
matters.
Films
None of it matters.
Coming up next.
Unless you take it to the
Why
field.
are you over-talking? It's 15.
You need to calm down.
I'm trying to go to break.
None of it matters unless you take it to the field.
Yes, again.
Whereas at Miami,
analysis. I'm so glad that we're dragging out this segment. At Miami, what?
You can grab a hold of that locker room before showing it yet because you showed it at your previous
Lucas,
stops.
I'm telling you, you can grab a hold of this locker room right now because they don't have anybody like that in there right now.
Not until you throw a touchdown.
A commodity. Okay. You satisfied with all those points that were very important for you to get out? Greg Cosell next. Lake lovers, listen up. Tennessee National, a highly anticipated lakefront resort, golf, and marina community, is having a spring sales event, releasing a limited number of lake lots to the public with upgrades and savings. One day only, this Saturday, April 26th, you can get a cottage package with a boat slip from $379,900. You can get, for the first time ever, a fully furnished lakefront townhome. There's private golf cart access to a new marina and resort, 10 miles of walking trails, 3.5 miles of shoreline, brand new 26,000 square foot clubhouse, waterfront concerts overlooking a beautiful lake, pickleball, pools, on-site coffee shop, and much more. Play on the lake or simply relax at the waterfront restaurant just over 20 minutes from Knoxville, Tennessee. Financing is available. Enjoy life on the water, fresh air, boat rides, and sunshine. Celebrate the lake life and make memories. This limited property release, Saturday, April 26th. Visit TennesseeNational.com, or better yet, give us a call, 865-408-9992 to secure your private tour. Memories begin here. Oh, the both of you are so dramatic. Everything's just fine, especially now because Greg Cosell of NFL Films is here. Talk a little draft with the main man. Of course, you can hang out with, well, Lucas is going to be out of town, right? You're going to be out of town for the install?
Unfortunately.
Oh, did you turn his microphone off?
Yeah, I was recording something in the break. Unfortunately,
that's why.
I will not be in attendance at the install live. I'm going to have
timeout.
Massive FOMO.
So Greg Cosell will be, of course, here on Friday, May the 2nd with Titans head coach Brian Callahan. Bert and I will be a part of the show. Of course, 250 of you guys will be in attendance. There are still the opportunity to get just a few of those tickets remaining at 1045thezone.com. Greg, buddy, how we living? Happy draft day.
It's draft day, Buck. I can't believe it. I'm still watching tape. You know, there's always tape to watch. I'm still doing it.
You sound exhausted.
Surely you've run out of tape, Greg.
Greg was just like, oh, you know.
Plus, I was, at the gym at 10 or 5 this morning. So,
Gotta get
stay awake
draft day pumping.
Trying to stay awake for the draft.
No, I hear you. It's a long night. Don't worry, buddy. I'll Uber eat you some ginger ale and we'll get you through draft night together.
Yeah,
okay.
It's a long night. It's a long night.
There's no question. Well, for us, Greg, mercifully, it should be a short night because the Titans do have the number 1 overall draft pick, and Cam Ward is the expectation. Of course, we will break him down at great length at the install live. But I do want to start with an addition that the Titans made late last night. Tyler Lockett is going to join this wide receiver core that is in desperate need of depth and frontline starters. And I know he's not at the peak of his powers anymore, but I wonder what you make of that addition to this kind of an offense.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea for the simple reason he's a veteran. He's certainly not the same player he was, 3, 4, 5 years ago. I don't think he has quite the vertical juice that he had back then, but a veteran, a savvy player, a smart player. You always hear, Buck, you've had these conversations with coaches. Each coach, position coach, talks about the room. We want our room to be good. So this is a really good addition to the wide receiver room, getting a veteran receiver who understands the league, understands what it takes. We don't know what else they'll do in the draft, that wide receiver. Obviously, they still have Calvin Ridley, who I think even despite the quarterback issues a year ago, did manage to get over 1,000 yards. He's a really good receiver. So, it's a step in the right direction. I don't want fans to think Lockett's going to go, 100 for 1,500 yards. That's not going to happen.
Sure.
But he's a savvy, smart player, and it's just a good move.
Well, and that's, I saw some criticisms just late last night, as there's always criticisms on Twitter, Greg, as you well
always. Always. You have to.
Everybody's a talent about, no, I don't know if you have to, but people do anyway. Talking about his lack of, how should I put this? The fact that he doesn't get a ton of yards after the catch because he is very much a self-preservation type of player, and he is quick to go down, but not before, Greg. He has found the openings in zone coverage for him to be able to sit down, get whatever yardage he needs, whether that's to convert a third down or to keep the chains moving and not have to play on third down. To your point, he uses that wherewithal to both preserve himself for a full 17 games, as he did last year in an advanced stage, and also take advantage of what the defense is presenting him.
Yeah, you make a really good point about the zone element. He's very good at finding voids, settling in voids, giving the quarterback a place to throw the football, a clean throw, something that will be important with a rookie quarterback, obviously. So, yes, he's not a run after catch guy unless he catches the ball on the move. But if he catches it, let's say, in the middle of his zone, he's pretty much going to go down. Fans should understand that. He's not going to turn and run. He's not a big guy. He's later in his career, but he'll get the necessary yards, and then he goes down. That's what he's done the last 2-3 years, and I'm sure he'll continue to do that.
Greg Cosell of NFL Films is here with us on 104.5 The Zone. He'll be with us in person in 8 days from now when Greg flies in, when Titans head coach Brian Callahan joins us for a live taping of the install at the Hutton Hotel in the Analog Room. Tickets available still at 1045thezone.com.
Greg, when you look at Tyler Lockett's production or the steps back in production he's taken in each of the last 2 years, really, from being a perennial 1,000-yard receiver in the NFL, is it simply just aging, further into his career? Is there anything specific that you see Tyler Lockett, because availability is not the issue. He's played in just about every game in those seasons. Is there anything you see markedly different in the Tyler Lockett of today versus the Tyler Lockett of even 2022, understanding he's obviously well into his 30s by now?
Yeah, I think, Lucas, the vertical element's not there anymore. I mean, he was a vertical receiver. I can remember seeing, deep posts with Russell Wilson that they designed specifically for him, and he'd get on top of the defense and score touchdowns on plays like that. You obviously haven't seen that in the last couple of years. It's probably a function of just getting older, losing a step. Obviously, they've added to their receiver core. They drafted Smith-Njigba. He became basically the number one receiver last year, which is probably one reason they traded Metcalf as well. So I think it's just a function of age. As I said, he's not going to be the same receiver. Fans should not expect him to be that guy. That's not who he is at this point in his career. So the vertical dimension is not going to be there. I don't think he was signed for that. I think the Titans knew very well exactly what they were signing. They were signing a veteran receiver who was going to get first downs. It's going to be a factor on third down. Every team needs a receiver that when it's 3rd and 7, he gets 9. And that may not look great on the stat sheet when you look at a guy's receptions versus yards per catch, but those are really, really important plays in games, and that's what Tyler Lockett is at this point in his career.
Pivoting a little bit, Greg, to this offensive line class with the draft starting tonight, it feels like at this point, and I know you're not toiling in the mock drafts this time of year, but it feels like Will Campbell, the offensive tackle out of LSU to New England, is about as locked in as Cam Ward to the Titans at this point. For you, is it that much of a consensus that Will Campbell is above and beyond the best offensive lineman in this draft class?
Well, Lucas, I'm going to answer it this way. And people can decide how they want to feel about this, because I've talked to coaches about this as well, because I'm not an offensive line guru and I don't pretend to be. I study them. I know offensive line coaches who tell me I know a little more than I think I know, but I would say I'm not super comfortable at times when I evaluate O-linemen, even though I do a ton of it. There's 64 starting offensive linemen in the NFL. Obviously, 32 teams. Each one has 2 offensive tackles. I meant offensive tackles, not offensive linemen. So there's 64 starting offensive tackles. Take this for what you will. Only 4 of them have arm lengths of less than 33 inches. Only 4. Will Campbell, his arm length is less than 33 inches. Now, I've spoken to O-line coaches who say he's not a tackle. I'm not playing him at tackle. He says he's an exception, and I'm not going to base my career, my livelihood on an exception. But I believe that the Patriots see him as a tackle, and we'll see how that plays out. In fact, I had one O-line coach tell me that he's an exact replica of Skoronski, who obviously played left tackle for 3 years in the Big Ten, and no one saw him as a left tackle in the NFL. But it's interesting that a lot of people see Campbell as a left tackle in the NFL. I guess we'll find out. If you want to see a game where the arm length was a factor, and this is an SEC game and you're in SEC country, people should take a look at the Arkansas game when he had a number of bad reps against Landon Jackson. So we'll see how it plays out. He's a good football player. That's inarguable. But we'll see how that plays out.
Greg Cosell here with us on 104.5 The Zone. We're doing a little install live before the actual install live on Friday, May the 2nd. If you are live streaming the show and watching Greg with us on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, or Facebook Live, the link for the tickets is also available in the live stream chat. Get yours today before they draft this damn quarterback, because then they are going to be gone. Greg, pivoting from offensive line discussion to a position that you and I haven't previewed quite yet. It's not necessarily a position of need for the Titans, but it is an interesting group. Off-ball linebackers, how do you kind of view the position? I guess I should ask it to you this way. How do teams view the position where I feel like it's been kind of categorized as a non-premium position at this point in time? But especially with the level of coverage abilities that some of these guys bring to the table, you have to have a good off-ball linebacker to be able to operate your defense efficiently.
Yeah, every position's not a premium position, Buck, until you don't have a guy. Yeah. And then it becomes a premium position. It's funny how that works. I mean, just look at what Zach Bond did for the Eagles last year, and he got a big deal, but then he was a critical piece of that defense. It's funny, you talk about off-ball linebackers. The way that the game has evolved, and it's really a function of the college game and probably even the high school game and the way kids are brought up who end up playing off-ball linebacker, is it seemingly has become a position of athleticism and movement and range, as opposed to the physicality that we used to talk about, and which some of us still do. I'm sure you've talked to Coach Mack about this numerous times, the concept of stack and shed, where you actually take on blocks of climbing offensive linemen, use your arms, extend your arms, keep your feet clean, play off, displace the blocker, and then make a tackle. You don't see many of those guys anymore. And there's linebackers in this draft that are thought of very highly. Jahad Campbell, Carson Swessinger from UCLA, who are obviously good prospects and could well be drafted, in the top 40 or top 50. And they're not really physical power players. They're athletes. And then there's someone like Demetrius Knight from South Carolina, another SEC player who is that guy, a very physical kind of old school linebacker, but he does have very good range and speed. It's a player I particularly like, and I'm anxious to see where he gets drafted. But for the most part, the position has somewhat changed. It'll be interesting coming off last season where there were 6 running backs with over 300 carries, and it's only a one-season snapshot, but to see if the running game comes a little bit back in vogue in the NFL, and if that makes people rethink what those stacked backers need to be able to do in order to play well.
Greg, we appreciate you hanging out here with us live. We're looking forward to seeing you in town next Friday. Well, I guess you'll get in next Thursday, right? Give yourself a little time to get ready.
I got to do that because you never know with the airlines, Buck. I don't want to they cancel a flight or whatever, and then I'm not there, and that wouldn't be a good thing,
No, God knows Brian Callahan would be pissed if he had to sit up there on the stage with just me and not you.
Well, Robert would fill in.
God. Yeah.
Well, buddy, safe travels next week. Enjoy the draft. Don't stay up too late, Greg. I know you're gonna.
Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to, so I might not be at the gym at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning.
That's okay. No days off for Cosell, especially even when the draft is going on. The tape grind continues. And Greg, actually, before you go, the thing that I'm really excited to provide to the audience at the Install Live this year, Friday, May the 2nd, Greg, Brian Callahan, me, and a bunch of other people from the zone, 250 of you guys in the house in the analog room at the Hutton Hotel. We're going to have your draft evaluations printed out at everybody's table so they can follow along with the tape breakdowns that you and Callahan are doing on that night. And I guess, just kind of an overview of what you include on those draft evaluations so people can look forward to seeing them, to following along with that tape study. And, I mean, hell, if you want to take them home, you can.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, that'll be great.
Well, buddy, we appreciate you spending some time, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
All right, Buck, look forward to it. Thanks.
That's Greg Cosell of NFL Films hanging out with us on 104.5 The Zone. And, in fact, Greg has done his first draft guide for the 33rd team this year. So if you want to get a little taste of what those evaluations look like before we give you the full thing on the full Titans draft class, you can have those as well. What you got, Bert?
As excited as I am for the install, I am even more excited for, as I understand it, we have decided to skimp on a hotel room for Greg this year, and he will be having a slumber party at my house.
Mm-hmm.
I thought we all agreed on this.
I think he is aware of that.
Greg is very much aware. We've already decided sleeping arrangements. I'm going to be downstairs. He's going to take my room.
I think I would rather be downstairs. There, God knows what kind of pizza toppings are strewn across your bedroom from your last sleep eating incident.
Okay.
That was at a hotel.
Yeah, that was
someone else had to deal with that.
I don't think so. That's what we described as Bert's innie, right, from the Severance show.
Yes, his sleep eating habits are his innie, and his innie, just like in Severance, knows nothing about his life, the life of his outie, and vice versa.
Do you think that the innie differentiates between a hotel room and his own abode? I would argue not.
No, I imagine the habits carry over. Greg will wake up to Robert shuffling around the kitchen at 2 a.m.
It actually happened last night. So I have people in town. All of my friends, college, high school friends, we get up and meet up for the draft every year. Last night they got in about 9:30. I ordered pizzas for everybody. They're downstairs. We all fall asleep on the couch and downstairs watching YouTube. I wake up in the middle of the night, and it is just me standing in the kitchen, butt-ass naked, eating a piece of pizza.
I can't think of anything less attractive than the sight of you naked.
I ain't trying to attract none of them. Those are my dudes from high school.
But just generally, like something that would be more shocking to walk in to you than you butt-ass naked eating a slice of pizza.
But they actually are used to it because they used to call me nude man in high school because at high school parties, you know, you're at somebody's house because their parents are out of town.
Yeah.
You go to a lake house or something.
It'll surprise you to know that I was the one who threw those parties.
It does not surprise me at all. You probably had the largest house. But what I would do is I would disappear just at the peak of the party, right when everyone's getting good and drunk, and they'd be like, "Have you seen Robert in a while? Has anybody seen Robert?" And then I would just burst through the party, butt ass naked. And I remember we did it at a lake house one time, and I busted through the front door, and I was trying to run through the party, not touch nobody, and run out the back door. And when I ran out the back door, I put my hands on it, went right through the screen door, and it split me. I just half of my ass was in the house.
Oh no!
And the top half was on the outside, just being split by the door where the screen was attached.
That sounds.
So my friends have got plenty of.
This is in high school?
What's the statute of limitations on streaking?
I think it's like 5 years.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, it was high school.
Pre or post?
You pooping yourself at a wrestling match.
Wrestling explosion.
Post.
Somebody tweeted me the other day and said, I thought I recognized that guy at the zoo from a wrestling, high school wrestling.
No, it was a comment on the YouTube video.
Oh, was it a comment
Which
on
you
the
can go
YouTube
watch
channel?
on 1045 The Zone's YouTube page.
What did it exactly say? Do you have the YouTube? Bert told me he was going to randomly inject the YouTube comments into the show yesterday and then completely forgot about the bit entirely.
I think I did that.
So one of the comments on the zoo video was, I just noticed Bert looks just like this one kid I once saw explode with diarrhea after getting flipped in a wrestling match.
Why did I tell y'all that?
You're an oversharer. It's what you do. 615-737-1045. What a fun show today. You got the full experience. We'll look forward to
rain check on Seamus.
Yeah. Well, Seamus apparently dealing with a situation with his dog. I don't know if you paid attention to that stream of consciousness yesterday in the group text with the people that are helping us book Seamus. So we hope that everything is okay, and we will catch up with him, if not tomorrow, at a later date. But we look forward to speaking with Seamus at some point. What we do look forward to is your last call for phone calls on this draft day, 615-737-1045. I'm Buck Rising. It's 1045 The Zone. All right. Let's put a bow on this bad boy, shall we? Lucas so butthurt about the fact that I yelled at him. He left. Where did he go?
I don't know. That was really rude, though. You should be nicer to him. You know he loves you.
There's nothing he loves more than driving me insane when he knows that I'm trying to go to a commercial break. There is nothing that human being relishes more than making me late. But anyway, Lucas has soccer obligations. I believe he has a production call with Nashville SC coach Brian B.J. Callahan.
There you go.
Who is also a Brian Callahan, but don't call him Brian. Call him B.J. Callahan with a G. Today at 1 o'clock.
How do you spell Callahan with a G?
Callaghan.
Nah, he should have got bullied for that.
What are you going to say to him?
Callaghan?
Callaghan?
Come on now. I do have a little piece of something that did not make Lucas's Nuggets that I wanted to share with you. So I have, by the way, the morning show had Daniel Jeremiah on yesterday. If you missed it, go check out that. It's on YouTube. The podcast is up. I value Daniel Jeremiah's opinion as high as I value just about anybody else in the drafting
Even
world.
your beloved Todd McShay.
You know what? Maybe even a little more, because nothing against Todd. You know that I value Todd's opinion.
No, I know. You had a Broner on the whole time.
My thing with Daniel Jeremiah is he's actually done the work. You know, he was in scouting departments both in Baltimore and in Philadelphia. That has nothing to do with my homerism. But when Daniel shares something, he's not just sharing it to share it. He's sharing it because he knows something. So I would urge everyone, if you're into mock drafts, Daniel Jeremiah put his final mock draft out yesterday. He has nailed the Ravens pick 3 years in a row. So I am my eyes are peeled to what he's saying. But he said something about 3 or 4 days ago in an interview with, I believe it was Mina Kimes, talking about Mason Taylor. I want you to listen to it first, and then we can react.
Is for him. I think when I started mapping this out, I was on with, well, I'll tell you afterwards, but with one of the better GMs in the league, and we were going through guys, and it was like, you start getting to the end of the round, you start looking at names, and it's like, I know exactly what I'm buying with Mason Taylor. Like the rest of these guys, it's some hit and miss, and he's like, I know exactly who and what he is. So we'll see what happens. But
so the fact that he would not share that name, I've already alluded to his I can't even talk, his history in Philadelphia and Baltimore. Ironically enough, both of them in contract disputes with their tight ends, Mark Andrews in Baltimore, Dallas Goedert in Philadelphia. Who do we think that he talked to get this information on Mason Taylor? And could you see the Eagles making a swing at tight end, taking Mason Taylor and making it 3 tight ends to go in the first round?
At 32?
At 32.
I guess it just depends who's there at 32. Like, I'm curious to see what edge guys slip, how many wide receivers are. I mean, I guess they don't need a wide receiver necessarily. Their offensive line situation is good. They do always seem to draft defensive front 7 players in the first 2 days of the draft. They, tripped and fell into Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith in the first round a couple of years ago. And Jalen Carter obviously had some legal situation around him at the time that Philadelphia was not overwhelmingly concerned about because of the talent of the player, and they felt like they could handle the person.
But it is.
So would they trade Goddard in that situation?
I think they would.
Do you think is it more likely that Mark Andrews is on or off the Ravens roster by the time that roster cuts get down?
Oh, that's tough. See, I don't think roster cuts, kind of like we talked about yesterday, play a huge part in it, because the reason that Mark Andrews is infinitely more acquirable now than he was, say, before the Combine is because the Ravens have already paid his roster bonus. So that is less money that the acquiring team would be on the hook for. I think if you acquired Mark Andrews for the upcoming season, it would be around $8 million. $8 million for a player like Mark Andrews.
That's not bad.
That's not bad for a starting caliber tight end who I would say is an above average, despite what happened in the playoffs and recency bias and all that.
Yeah, it'd be tough for a lot of people not to hold that one individual moment over him, even though he's been excellent ever since he's been in Baltimore.
It is interesting, though. I feel like Howie Roseman, can Howie make a stinker? Can you? We've had to go through this for like 3 years now.
Nobody has.
Howie.
I mean, didn't they draft Jalen Reagor?
Correct.
Over Justin Jefferson.
Correct. Because
then what was their flub the following year? Or maybe the year prior. I can't remember. They had 2 years where they made a mistake in the first round.
That's tough to remember the second part. But if you'll remember, the whole reason they passed on Justin Jefferson is because they didn't believe he could play outside, which is the craziest thing to me. And another reason that you can't take these pre-draft evaluations. You can take from them, gather information from them, but it doesn't mean that a player can't get better. It doesn't mean that a player, just because they didn't do something in college, doesn't mean they can't do something now. With NFL coaching, NFL weight rooms, NFL nutrition plans, anything can change with these players. The people who were subpar in college can become an infinitely better player in the NFL. So, and conversely so. So, for me, it is just about waiting, and you know what's going to happen tonight.
They drafted Andre Dillard. Thank you to the chat. Dixie on YouTube points out Andre Dillard was he the year before Rager or after?
That you got me stumped on that one too. But I will say he was supposed to start for like 3 years in a row. He just kept getting hurt. So we never really knew what he was. We just knew that he was unavailable.
Yeah.
I was going somewhere, but I don't remember what it was.
It's okay. It was, well, you talked about the tight end situation, draft nuggies and things of the like, things that Lucas didn't get to.
Yes.
All right. Oh, in the absence of any more nuggies, we should do the polls and get on to the first round of the NFL draft.
Draft grades. That was what I'm upset about. Tonight you're going to see, they get an A+, they get a C+. I don't want to see any of that. Two Rivers Ford sponsoring the polls, the most trusted Ford dealer in the South. This is the most excitement you've had for a Titans draft since when? Scooby did not read very well. The playoff game a couple years ago. Appreciate the submission, but that was not what we were looking for. Got a D good down here, 2016, mainly because I didn't have to hear you whine about everything. I assume he's alluding to you being Buck.
Probably. What would I have whined about in 2016?
Oh, nobody wants to help Coney save. What was Coney? Oh, that was 2012. That wasn't 2016.
A for effort.
What should the Tyler Lockett signing, or how should the Tyler, now I'm bad at reading, how should the Tyler Lockett signing impact the Titans draft approach? Mike Herndon says, 0, gang. Cousin Danny saying it shouldn't. A 33-year-old receiver changes your draft strategy, then the decision makers in your front office suck at their jobs. How do you feel?
Well, no, I just think it lessens the urgency for a wide receiver at 35. That's the only real adaptation. It doesn't mean that it lessens the urgency for a wide receiver in the draft at all, but it lessens the urgency for that specific position group at 35 when you're more likely to have way more impactful edge players at 35 overall, if that is in fact where they choose to stick and pick, than you would in a weak wide receiver group. I think that's fine. You were going to have to sign a veteran wide receiver anyway. You just did it before the draft in ways that we may not have anticipated, as opposed to after the draft once you've filled out more of your needs.
Will Shador Sanders be drafted tonight? 73% agree that he will, and 26% say, hell no, he ain't going in the first round.
I don't know. I mean, maybe, again, this is recency bias based on the reporting around it, but I just don't think Shador Sanders is a first-round pick. And I don't think NFL teams think that either. So, maybe one's in a good enough starting quarterback situation that they can afford to take Shador as a luxury and have him sit behind an entrenched veteran at the position. But I think it's way more likely that he falls out of the first as opposed to goes within the top 10, I think, is the question that I posed to you and Lucas earlier.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you. I think if he goes in the first round, I mostly agree with you for the fact that he's not a first-round receiver. But we've seen before teams make plenty of swings on guys who weren't the caliber of player that you should pick at that spot. What is your hottest NFL draft take about the first round? We got Jack McPherson saying the Titans are going to the Super Bowl. Corey Curtis saying the Jags pick won't pan out. And Christopher Sissel, the Bears trade up for a running back, Ashton Genty, at number 5. I think you shared your hottest with us yesterday.
Yeah, I don't think if Luther Burden is there at 35, I would imagine that the Titans would pass.
Don't hate that. Don't hate that.
I mean, the severity again is lessened by the presence of Tyler Lockett, who I am totally fine with them adding a wide receiver or even two in the draft. Lucas has argued for two. I think that's fine. But I want more veteran help around a rookie quarterback than I do young guys running around in a new system with him.
I think over half the first round is going to consist of offensive linemen, defensive linemen, and edge. Those three positions will make up more than 16 picks in the first round.
That is a hot take.
Those are the polls.
Very good. That's the show. No prime time tonight because we got the first round of the NFL draft. I'll be over at the Titans facility. We'll get the pick done early. We'll talk with Cam Ward via Zoom. We'll speak with Brian Callahan and Mike Borgonzi. Enjoy tonight.